That was weird.
Television highlights of the news of yesteryear.
Welcome, everybody. Evidently, we were live, and the machine said we weren't live, but now we are live. We know we're live. Are we live? Am I alive? Are you alive?
Is it live or is it Memorex?
It's Memorex. And with that, and yes, indeed, please share this stream out. Oh my gosh, there's so many lovely people here tonight. Thank you, Valiant, for getting the boat rolling tonight. He should be here shortly, along with a few other guests, but not to waste any time. Not that we have anything to do but waste time. We have Six with us. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to Valiant Renegade being here shortly and Mexican Iron Man being here longly.
I'm
That's
back.
right, kids. He's back.
After a 3-week
Mexican Iron Man.
After a 3-week hiatus.
About like 3 years.
No.
It did feel like 3 years. It was crazy.
Yeah, I had a great physical therapy appointment on Friday, another one yesterday, and they're like, you are okay. I just gotta do my home physical therapy exercises, and I can't, go crazy with the desk and keyboard. But I'm returning back. Look out, everybody.
Hey, that's right. So that means you can't really do any naughty stuff with the nurses, can you?
Well, let's just say there's things you can do with one arm that you don't need two arms. Ha ha. Ha ha. Ha ha.
Touche.
Well.
Touche.
And with that, no. So welcome back, Mike. We're so glad to have you back here. And it's the first Sunday with Six. So that's interesting. We don't have a set guest tonight, but Cameron Pasha may hop in. And of course, Valiant should be here in a little bit, as we also said. And I think Script Doctor and Culture Casino should also be along shortly. Oh my gosh, we got George the Giant Slayer in the chat. How you doing, friend?
Just sent him the link. He wants on.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
And then why don't we do that? Let's do the super chats. We're gonna start with George's though, since we just brought him up. So George the Giant Slayer says we need a bigger boat.
George!
That's a Jaws line.
George!
That's a great movie.
It is, isn't it? And then we've got Hillis Mallory, who's been here for a year at the minimum effort puppy level. Well, if it's been a year, I think we should do something special. What do you say?
Let's strip.
A second. Not quite what I had in mind. But let's give him an Oscar-winning puppy. Why not? We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, the baby.
Do I win the Oscars?
Oh, he's a little boy baby.
I would rather have Oscar Mayos, he says. Hillis Mallory says, hello, saw it, liked it, but recast T'Challa. Oh, so you did enjoy Black Panther.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Cool. And we got 70s Rock Fan in the house. How you doing? He's also been a member for 19 months. How you doing, buddy? So the big talk of the weekend was Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we may talk a little bit about that. Other than that, there really wasn't too much ahead on the agenda as far as story-wise or anything like that. That's kind of the way it goes. We just kind of talk about whatever the biggest news of the week is and whatever we want to talk about up to and including entertainment, that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an interesting week in politics, of course. It's still on.
Oh, are we going to talk about politics?
Probably not.
What?
Not too much. I mean, it may intrude a little bit on movies and television shows, but I seen Sylvester Stallone's new show dropped. Did you guys get a chance to watch that yet? I watched like the first 10, 15 minutes, and I was like, oh,
I did not.
I want to get back to this. I guess it's from Tyler Sheridan. It's a like a gangster show. Looks pretty good from what I've seen so far. So yeah.
Does it take place modern times or?
Yeah,
Isn't like
it's
an older. Oh, okay.
It's what the hell is it called? Something of Tucson. He's basically like this mob guy who's been in prison for 25 years, And when he gets
That would
out, of
suck.
course, he kept his mouth shut while he was in prison. So of course he expects, his old gang to take care of him. And so they give him this job in Tulsa. Tulsa King, that's what it is. Thank you. So yeah, so that's all the farther I've gotten. I really want to watch like the first 10 minutes of it. I'm like, oh, I got to get back to this. So maybe after Culture's show tonight, if I'm still awake, I'll jump back in and check it out. But yeah, so that looks like it might be pretty good. Of course,
Cool.
Tyler Sheridan, he's the one who made like Yellowstone and stuff like that, right, guys?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and they've got a new prequel teaser out too. You just pointed out 6 with Harrison Ford.
With Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into the show yet, but I've been thinking about it. Walmart has like the first 5 seasons on Blu-ray. I think they're already sold out. But
how many? I assume there's 5
it's been
seasons.
on for
then.
6, 7 seasons actually. I think there's been like 2 or 3
Holy
more.
cow! I didn't know.
Okay, yeah, he also started with The Sopranos. That's right. Yeah. Well, there's already been like 2 or 3 spin-offs of this show too already. He had.
I've never heard anything bad about
or
it.
whatever. Yeah, that's the thing. It's the show that everybody loves. The original one had. Wasn't Kevin Costner in the original one? Or was he in one of the spin-offs? I can't remember.
I thought he was
He's
in the
still
Yellowstone.
He's still on it? Okay.
Are they still making it?
Yeah, they're gonna have a new season. I just saw the commercial for it before the football game earlier today. They said
No, wait, isn't that the one that's on Universal anyway? So I got a year of Peacock.
Paramount.
Maybe. Yeah, but Peacock has the first season of Yellowstone, I thought.
Dude, I don't know. I'm so far behind in that show. I don't know if I'll ever.
Well, I just remember us talking about how that was a big snafu on Paramount's part because that show came out just before Paramount Plus, or a little bit before, and they made the deal with Universal for it or whatever it was. Valiant Culture will know what I'm talking about when they get in here. Oh, and season 5 premieres tonight. Okay, they haven't had as many as I thought. Okay, there you go. George knows his Yellowstone. There you go.
I can't keep track. There's so many dang shows.
Well, George is from Texas.
1783. That's the other show I was thinking of. Did I say 1884? Yeah, 1923 and 1783 are the other ones. Yeah. All right. So George should be in here shortly. It sounds like as well. So cool. But Mikey, how are you feeling? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Mike how he's feeling.
A lot better. It was.
I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but yeah.
Well, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. Basically, for 2.5, 3 months, I basically worked my right shoulder off. 10 key, mouse, keyboard. What started as carpal tunnel in the wrist turned into whatever, like a tennis elbow, turned into my shoulder wouldn't move, and then my arm was dangling to the side of my body, and I couldn't move it without being in excruciating pain. So I went in for a diagnosis. I had something called frozen shoulder, and they're like, you got 2 options: either A, get surgery, or B, you go to physical therapy for 3 to 6 weeks, and hopefully it'll loosen up. And that's what's happened. So I got a green light go that I could. And basically, for the first 2 weeks, they said, don't get on a computer, mouse, desk, nothing. Just stop.
Well, you're the guest tonight, so you just sit there and let 6 handle the modding for tonight, and we'll take care of the rest. We're like a hotels, whatever's Hotel 6 or whatever.
Cool.
Hotel 6.
I
don't know if I like that or not, but we'll roll with it. That's okay.
We'll work with it. And we got Valiant in the house sucking on some wine.
Oh, yeah. Trying to decompress from that show. I'm going to let you handle this.
You would know the answer to this. You would know the answer to this. Tyler Sheridan, like what are the Peacock deal with Yellowstone or whatever? Because we had talked about this before.
Oh.
How Paramount kind of snafu'd that one and Peacock ended up with the streaming rights to their big show.
Yeah, so if you think about it, like we talked about not long ago, like Warner Brothers Studios, when you think back to the 90s and everything else, like most of the stuff on television, even if it wasn't on a Warner affiliate, it was made by Warner Brothers TV Studios. Paramount kind of did that with Yellowstone, where it was a Paramount Studios production, but it was farmed out, right? So that's why you have the situation you do, and that's why Paramount was so gung-ho to turn around and make their prequel series 1883, which was excellent. I enjoyed the hell out of that. And I think I've said before on YouTube, I mean, if you want to know how to write strong female characters correctly, watch 1883. That's how you do it. Yeah, that's how you do it. I mean,
yeah,
the
I know
offer
you and
in
Culture and all those guys,
yeah, the offer in 1883 are 2 of the best gems on Paramount Plus.
Well, and I know you guys have been talking the show up for so long. I've been thinking about getting into it. So
Yeah.
No, I
it's
wish
good.
I'd bought that Blu-ray set. I didn't know. I thought they were only. I think it only had the first 4 seasons in it, though. Maybe because George said the 5th one was starting tonight. So
Oh,
I think I said
Yellowstone
5
is a
earlier.
banger for them. That's a money machine. Kevin Costner, that whole show.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched. I think I started watching Yellowstone. I need to go back into it, but I have really not watched it. But I heard so many good things about it that when 1883 popped up on Paramount Plus, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm gonna go watch it. And I'm like, oh god, I gotta watch Yellowstone now because if it's as good as this, I'm in. I'm all
Well, the
in.
reason we got on the subject is because they dropped the trailer through Variety, I believe, with the Harrison Ford spinoff with Helen Mirren. And then I had also brought up that Tyler Sheridan had produced the new Sylvester Stallone show that dropped this week, Tulsa King. And I started watching that, hadn't got a chance to watch it all the way through yet. But that's how we got on the subject, just so you're up to speed, because I didn't know if you got a chance to listen or not. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. We are also doing some super chats here. We got a member chat from Morgan King, who's been a member for 16 months. Thank you for that. We got Kitty Bear in the house. How you doing, buddy? Who's been a member for 16 months as well. We got George sending in another one who says, farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Yes, I watched Jaws again.
Well,
Robert
and
Shaw
I
is the
do
man.
to you, ladies of Spain.
He is so much the man.
Mhm.
700
Robert
men
Shaw.
went in the water, about 300 come out. Sharks
Yeah.
got the rest.
1945.
All I know is
we delivered
I'll
the
never-
bomb.
all I know is I'll never wear a life vest again.
I still like every time I watch that scene, I really do get
Oh, it chills, man.
you feel it. You feel that scene when he's
Little did
delivering
we
that.
know our mission was so secret. No distress signal been sent. That little Irish accent coming through.
Yeah. They didn't notice we were overdue till 3 days later. Yeah. It's just, oh my God.
700 men. I don't know how many sharks. Probably 1,000 of them.
Took about 6 men an hour. Oh my God.
Run
got
into a buddy of
black-
mine.
Sharks got black eyes like a doll's eyes. Oh God.
They don't seem to be living. Then they roll over white.
Hey, dear Hollywood, go back to making movies like that. Please.
What I love is comparing that speech to how Dr. Loomis describes Michael Myers, because they're just so synonymous.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very good analogy. Yeah.
What I saw was a blank expression. The devil's Ghost in the Photo is in the house. How you doing, Ghost in the Photo? Glad to have you here. Been a member for 3 months. Yes, indeed. Awesome sauce. Oh, so much to talk about. Not really. Black Panther, though, is the big.
That's funny. That's how I. Do you know, Tommy? You didn't see it. That's exactly how I started my stream.
Well, you know what? Let's get on that, because I got to imagine.
I was like, oh, we got nothing to talk about. There's no news. We got nothing for you today on Renegade Online. It was the same joke.
Now they downgraded Black Panther a while ago. So this 180 million weekend for them is pretty much where they said they were going to land. But a few months ago, they were saying 200 million.
They were saying 2+. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
2 plus.
I
Actually,
thought it was 220, 250, like 8 months. Wait, what?
About 3 weeks ago. Okay, so Box Office Pro, their measurements based on what they start is, for those of you out there watching, when they start measuring this and trying to determine an opening weekend, they go by when do tickets go on sale, pre-sale tickets, right? And they measure the first 24 hours, and that usually comes from a company called Rentrack, which is part of ComScore. And you probably heard of ComScore because, like, what was the ComScore grading for this movie? So in the first 24 hours, they got a whole bunch of pre-sales, and based on that explosion, they gave a guidance figure that was between like 190 million and 225 million. And of course, since then it's come down because the pre-sales, much like Marvel's releases into theaters, are very front loaded. So we saw that come down. And like I said, 180 million is still nothing to shake a stick at, but it depends where it legs out from here. Usually Marvel's, movies, especially in phase 4, kind of hit a brick wall after the first 5 days. So
there you go. And then we've got Rob Altus, who sends in a member chat and says, hey, Tom and crew, enjoy the long overdue real life stuff, but lurking and always interested. Hail everyone. Well, hail to you, Rob Altus. And we have a Canadian in the house. That's right. The one, the only Script Doctor. He's got a cure for all your entertainment needs.
Yes, it's watching old television and movies prior to 2010.
Watch 2 and call him in the morning.
Good evening,
Take
everyone.
with water.
Water, popcorn,
Yeah.
soda.
Still having some issues with your sound, we hear, but we're still glad to have you here just the same. So welcome, Script Doctor.
Calibrated to be cleaner, but it's really hard. StreamYard does not have a whole lot of tools to do that.
No, sadly, on the sound department is one of the areas where StreamYard is very, very lacking indeed. But we're glad to have you here just the same. Like I said, we haven't really been talking about too much, other than I was about to ask Valiant how he thinks Disney's handling this Black Panther weekend. I was assuming they think they're doing okay, but what is the long haul on this? Do you think it's really gonna stand up to future films coming out here? Because I mean, it doesn't have really much for competition as far as that goes, but
It doesn't, but I mean, look, publicly, public relations, marketing, all this kind of stuff. Sure, they're going to take a victory lap, no doubt, and I mean, in some respects, certainly they should. It's going to be one of the biggest opening weekends, at least domestically, of the year, globally as well. But just like the first Black Panther movie in 2018, like I talked about in my video that I put out yesterday morning. With Black Panther, you really have to watch the international box office, because Black Panther 2018 was one of those MCU anomalies, and anomaly also in even a broader scope across other movies, to where, it came out in the U.S., it finished with $700 million domestic, but it finished with $630 million international. Now, normally, with the vast majority of Marvel films, the international performance is greater than that of the domestic, just because of the breadth of where it is released in the markets. Usually, you wind up seeing somewhere around a 55 to 45 split, 55% international, 45% domestic. Black Panther was the exact opposite. It had a much stronger domestic draw than it did internationally. And that $630 million international figure in 2018 included about $130 million from China and Russia. Those two markets are off the table for Wakanda Forever. So when you back that out, you come up with about a $500 million figure for Black Panther 2018. And you look at now. So Wakanda Forever, I expect to probably get, if not breaching it, very close at least to that $400 million mark. I think its domestic performance is going to look very similar to that of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, at least compared to Thor: Love and Thunder. However, the global box office, the international markets, are just not going to be as strong. And I posted this, I talked about this in the live stream earlier. Black Panther's opening to a $330 million estimated at this point. We will have more robust, accurate figures, if not tomorrow afternoon, then Tuesday morning. But Doctor Strange 2 opened to $450 million globally. So you can see the rub, right?
yeah, it's a little step down.
Yeah, and
but
this movie with a $250 million budget, that's a problem.
And speaking of your show earlier, somebody who joined you, and I don't know if he's ever really been on Midnight's Edge After Dark proper before, but we're about to find out. Mr. Cameron Pasha, how you doing?
Hey everyone, it's great to see you, Tom. Thank you for your hospitality, bringing me on. And we've got wonderful people. There's two of which I've just been hanging out with Valiant and Mexican Iron Man. Script Doctor, it's always wonderful to see you. And Six, I don't know that we've been on in a long time. Have we been on before?
Hi, Cameron. It's been a while, a long while.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you on. It's been an exciting
Great to see you.
Indeed, it's about to get lit, chat, so make sure you've hit that like button. You got almost 500 people watching right now. We can get this to 300 likes, I think, toot sweet. And also hit that share button, send it out to Twitters and Facebooks and all that kind of good stuff as well. Thank you all for being here.
Well, since we've got you here, Pasha, because that's what this show is. This is a kickback. We just kind of talk about whatever comes up kind of show. And I started the show with a couple other guests, and we just kind of waxed about all kinds of different stuff. So what have you been up to? What can you tell us, let's say, because I know you're kind of limited on what you can say, but just real quick, what you've been up to lately since you've been out of the YouTube spotlight for a few.
Yeah, I've been out for a while, and I've been missing my Midnight's Edge family, and I think I've been missed here. I think some people are missing me, but I've been working on a project. What I can reveal is I've sold a show to a major network, and I've been working with them through what is the development process. I had written a pilot, a spec pilot that they bought, and now the last several months has been the process of rewriting that pilot to make it more fit what their network wants. Which hint, they want more sex and violence, which is that particular
That's
network.
a good thing.
That part of their first note was like, we need a lot more sex in this. I'm like, okay, that sounds good to me. I'll get to work on it. And so and did that. And thankfully I'm now on, part of my development deal with them is, I'm giving them several episodes and a Bible, and then hopefully we'll get God willing, a full green light to series, but we'll see. They've just authorized me to start working on the second episode, so they're happy with where the process is going. And so I just yesterday, handed into the studio my second episode outline of where the show is going, and it feels good. So I'm hoping to come back to Midnight's Edge and reveal all the details, what the show is about, where it's hopefully being released, and then that will be a major thing. And then I'm hoping one day I can bring some of you guys onto the set. But let's get there, because the development process, as Script Doctors knows, it's like that scene where Wonder Woman is crossing World War I trench, and I don't have the magic bracelets, right? So I just got to dodge all these bullets and somehow get to the other side with an actual show. So that's a process ahead.
Well, Cameron, I have a question. Or maybe, what is that title, that job in Hollywood you have to have intimate relations coordinator person, right?
Yeah.
I know a Mexican guy that would be perfect for that job.
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
I will look into it. We have we're very large Latino involvement in Hollywood.
Well, you know what? Cameron, you need a Mexican Latino guy from the fandom who could be an expert and has the right background and expertise in order to participate. Manage the intimacy on set. Yeah, I know a guy.
I think you'd make a great intimacy coordinator for those Mexican soap operas. That's a lot more fun to me. I don't know. Had some really good looking people on those shows.
I seen some lady beat up some girl in a fucking wheelchair in one of those shows once. That shit's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want an all Latina set. They can get kind of
You just
crazy.
need a coordinator that's
wrestling.
going to complement the appearance of all of the players involved in whatever sex scene they have. And that's Mexican.
Well, this show will likely have an intimacy coordinator, because now the opening scene is now a pretty intense sex scene. So I was like, I'll give it right at the beginning.
Okay, so take one of the things that's been devoid since 2000 and I don't know, fill in the blank, 6-8 years now, is them wiping that stuff out. Isn't that a good sign that one of the studios is telling you that you have those liberties to go there with your scripts?
Yeah, I think this particular network is known for being risque with this kind of stuff, so I think it's their brand. I think we've seen a lot more.
Hallmark.
Yeah, you just reveal the script of it all. A lifetime it is. But no, it's. I think other networks have been more sort of nervous about how they're doing some of this stuff. But this particular one is already that's on brand for them.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to hear more about it. And
like I said, get to the other side of the trench.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here, and we just talk about whatever comes up. We were talking about Black Panther. Have you got a chance to see the movie yet yourself?
No, I've not. I'm a little bit behind. I saw Black Adam last weekend, which I very much enjoyed.
You're not allowed to.
Oh well.
It's problematic for the audience to like the movie, says some critic on.
And you're not
CBR.
black enough, Cameron. So.
Oh well, but I was told that I was up for a project, on young Malcolm X, and I was told, oh, it's great because as you all know, Malcolm X is a big part of my personal philosophy of the world, and he's very much a guide for me, and I was pretty much told, you're brown but not dark enough for this show. So.
See, that's why that's why if we're lucky and the travel restrictions to LA lifted in early January, I'll come and stand next to you so that I can be the swatch comparison. So that you're not black enough. It's like, but you're next to Script Doctor.
He'll be
I think you might be appropriate.
he'll be
I
like,
don't know. We're gonna finally meet in person. And it turns out you're actually Denzel Washington, and you've been jerking us all around this whole time.
I'm the only one
Mama.
that knows Script Doctor's true origin story. What happened is that Doogie Howser, MD, that show, Doogie went through a time portal, and he's now Script Doctor.
Okay.
we didn't land on Script Doctor. Script Doctor landed on us.
It's all good. So yeah. So I'm sorry to interrupt the flow of things you were talking about.
No, there is no real flow. Actually, that's the beauty of this show on Sunday nights. It's
Yeah, this show
called
is
the
more
Wrap Up
like
for
we're
a
all
reason.
hanging out at a bar.
Pretty much.
It's like a raging rapids. You never know what's going to
Or an
happen.
after party type of thing, just shooting the breeze. I mean, to piggyback on what Valiant was saying, especially with the box office comparison, Wakanda Forever, it's doing okay, not as great as it was being projected. I think it's going to land about 175, 180 over the weekend. But that domestic title already basically just crushes what Black Adam has been doing over the last 4 weeks, which shows that the Marvel brand is not as compromised as you would expect, but it's definitely not as strong as you would hope it would be, given the past 7 movies and only really one of them breaking that $1 billion mark.
And
So really
considering
it's-
that tickets are 30% more expensive now, at least, than they were when 2018's Black Panther came out.
Not only that, but Black Panther, the only discrepancy between Black Adam and Black Panther, aside from the DC aspect, is Black Panther was in 4 less theaters, or 4 less screens domestically than Black Adam and for its opening weekend. And it still it packed their houses far quickly and far more effectively than Black Adam did.
There was
And
one-
they did so
No
with
doubt.
the only really name in Black Panther was Angela Bassett. And I would say that The Rock has probably got a bigger fan base than her, even though I think Angela Bassett is still like one of the greatest actors of the modern era.
And I think she played Betty Shabazz in Malcolm X by Spike Lee, and she was incredible.
Yeah.
Well, let's not make any mistake about it, though. Whatever interest Black Panther gained over top of, say, like the openings of Thor and Doctor Strange, had everything to do with people curious to see how they were going to handle the death of T'Challa.
Most
And-
likely, absolutely.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. So I'm not trying to make excuses or anything like that. What I'm trying to say, though, is I have a feeling this movie would have made at least a good 20, 30 million less if it wasn't for that aspect of it. But joining us now, we have another guest. Holy crap. When it rains, it pours. We have a giant slayer joining us. How are you doing?
How you doing, everybody?
Hi,
Great
George.
to hear.
Been a while, George. How you doing?
Great, doing great.
Good to see you.
Cameron, Script, Valiant. Next round.
Well, I always love your backgrounds. They kind of hypnotize me. That pinkish vibe, it always hypnotizes me when you're on.
Thank you.
He keeps changing them. It makes me nervous.
We need a bigger boat. Yeah.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
I just watched Jaws twice this weekend. It's just been
Awesome.
stuck in my
Oh,
head. Yeah.
God. Yeah, I just watched
Those are
it again a
movies.
couple
We need
weeks
to get
ago.
back to those days where they actually knew
Not
how
only
to
that,
move.
one of the greatest 4K releases ever. It was the movie that made me get a 4K TV finally.
Really?
Because I'm like, yeah, because I was like, all right, fine. Jaws is out on 4K. That's pretty much it. I have to now. Like, it was like,
Is the talent out there to write stuff like that anymore in Hollywood?
well, yeah, I'm sure Script and Cameron would tell
Yeah.
you definitely, but it's just it's tougher for guys like these to get through.
That's not who they hire anymore.
No.
But
I mean,
I
is
think
it
that's
just
gonna change.
idea? Oh, is it just ideology? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Cameron. Sorry.
No, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. No, I mean, it's not really about I mean, certainly, I think ideology in the last decade played a role. A lot of it is just, I think Script would agree that there's just a club. There's a club of people that they literally have a list, like movie studios have a list of the screenwriters, and they just recycle that list. And your job is to somehow get onto that list. My agent once told me that it's like my job is to get you onto that list, right? Because they just have a list of the writers they work with, and those don't have to be talented writers. It's just the list that's passed down from executive to executive, right? But I do believe in the next decade, I've said this for a long time, I think I've said it on Midnight's Edge, that we are about to approach what the 70s were, where after a major crisis in sort of studios taking over or corporations taking over the studios, you had a burst of independent filmmakers like Spielberg and Jaws, like Coppola, like Lucas. And I think that this next decade, we're going to begin to see new filmmakers appear.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Like the gentleman who did Smile. He's a first-time writer-director, and I loved that movie. It scared the crap out of me. And this guy's going to be huge. This guy came out of nowhere.
Right. So you think it's going to have what happened this week? You think it's going to have repercussions in the production side, like what they're going to produce? Or is that just going to be what I was listening? Because Valiant, I think you were saying it's going to hit them more in marketing.
Well, it's going to hit a lot of different divisions. I mean, to your question, I would say that whatever is not already legally under contract. Like I'm sure Script can speak to this, and Cameron as well. I mean, you know, when you use the term greenlit, right? So greenlit means you got a script, we got something we want to make. We're going to allocate a budget to this. We're going to put it under contract. Those kind of things that have already been greenlit are going to be harder to choke back, although there's probably still some out to curtail budgets. But anything that has, you know, in development right now, that's what's getting looked at going forward. Like, dude, we cannot spend $250 million on a Marvel film anymore. We cannot spend $200 million to produce a dog turd like Lightyear, or 125 to 150 million to produce a film like Strange World from Disney Animation Studios that comes out in less than a week.
Which it never made sense to me why they would release it right after.
Well, because Disney always wants to have an animated Thanksgiving, you know, bounce, and it usually works. The last one they did, Frozen 2.
Right, but isn't that
before in
kind of
context.
counter into but would be opposite of Marvel movie, not a Marvel animation.
It would, but I mean, they obviously decided like Strange World basically, from what it seems like, got to Kareem Daniels' desk, and he was like, "Right, no, I'm not spending $100 million to market this turd. You throw it in theaters, we'll see what we make back." But
their animation studio has suffered greatly since they got rid of John Lasseter.
Yeah, Disney
they
Animation
have not had a hit in years, basically.
Disney Animation Studios and Pixar, which are two separate corporate entities under the Disney ownership. I'd tell you right now, part of this, if they do not gut and merge these two studios, I will be shocked.
Well, they technically already kind of had through Lasseter, but yeah, sorry.
So what you're saying is basically everything in the pipeline is what we're gonna have to choke on for the next couple, like 24 to 36 months, and then to clear it out.
If it's already in production and that kind of stuff, I don't see.
So
they're
not going to pull that. They're not going to do like what Zaslav did with Batgirl, like go no.
We're getting to the back end of a lot of that because we got to remember. Okay, we're at a point now. Like Black Panther was shot mainly during the pandemic, right?
Right.
So a lot of these films we're going to start seeing now were ones that were shot just before, during. Maybe a couple that were just after, but not likely. Most of them are going to be in that 2020, 2021 range right now.
The height of
I have a question, and I don't know who's the best person to answer this. Could be anybody on this panel, but going back months with this Wakanda Forever thing, I mean, there seemed to be a lot of confidence from the Disney Marvel people that this thing was going to be $1 billion in the bank, no problem, yada, yada, yada. What if that does not happen? Like, what is the drawing? What is the line of failure or mediocrity for this in terms of box office?
Well, I mean, I can take that one. I can tell you right now, statistically speaking, based on its global opening weekend, $1 billion is off the table for Black Panther 2, Wakanda.
So you don't think it's gonna
250? That's the other problem.
Yeah, my projection of 8 to 850 is, I feel at this point, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm sitting here tooting my own horn, but this weekend has basically confirmed what I was thinking on this movie because of what I described earlier with the variants. Wakanda Forever, Black Panther 2018, they do not bring in the global numbers, the international figures that most other Marvel movies do, because the subject nature of it seems to play much better in the U.S. market, in the Canadian market, than it does overseas.
Well, it's not gonna do well in China because they're not.
It's not going to do anything in China.
Oh, they're not playing.
They don't care. They don't care for Africans.
China and Russia are
I was
out.
trying to put it in a.
No, I worked in China. It's not exactly the most.
China and Russia are out. The first Black Panther movie did 104 to 105, I think. No, I'm sorry, $109 million, I think, in China, and did about 25 million in Russia. Both of those markets are gone for this movie. That ain't coming back. So the $630 million that Black Panther 2018 did in the international market, you have to pull that 130 million out. That brings its international cume down to 500. I don't think the international cume is going to get even close to 500 this time.
So you're talking like, oh, okay.
No, I was going to say it opened with about 150 million so far, estimated 140, 150 million estimated international. Multiply that by anywhere between 2 and 2.3. That's where it's going to land. So that means the international market is probably going to feather out somewhere between 3 and 350. That means in order for this movie to basically break even on Disney's costs, the domestic market is going to have to reach in excess of 450 to 500 million. That is highly unlikely right now. Sorry.
So what do you
am
think
I-
the next
Well,
drop?
before we
What do you
get
think it's gonna? What do you think it's gonna drop for the next weekend? So you're saying it's not gonna have the legs
60% at least.
Yeah, and
I'm
hold on,
not-
George, because before we get to that question, we should finish off Mike's, because Mike's did ask about how is that going to affect with Disney.
Oh,
And that's going into the reputation aspect of things. If they don't have that billion, they're going to lose their reputation points. And one thing that I'm sure Cameron can affirm is that reputation is kind of the principal currency within Hollywood. If you've got a good success under your belt, you can actually use that to get other jobs and get other projects made. And if Disney doesn't have that because of the box office treatment with Black Panther and because of the last record of the previous 7 films, that's going to hurt them. It's going to take some time for them to really feel the effects of it, but it's going to happen unless they right the ship. And given the slate of films that they have coming out over the next year and a half, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. You can't really turn on a dime in Hollywood when it comes to their features.
Cameron, when you comment right now, I know you're going to comment. I just want to add one more question to have you throw another filter, which is that please comment on that question. And then I want to ask you this. What is Kevin Feige's reputational currency 5 years ago versus now versus the near-term prospects?
Okay. So to answer the issue of reputational currency, just from my perspective, I think there's going to be there already is a concerted effort in the trades to try to hide that Black Panther is going to underperform Black Panther 2. They're already making it out like this. It's hitting the ground running. It's incredible, right? And they're not doing the comparative analysis with, well, didn't Doctor Strange do better than this? Right? They're not doing any of that analysis, right? Because the idea is to get the average dumb person who reads this stuff to believe, oh, Black Panther 2 was a success. So in that sense, they will try to preserve reputational stuff because, again, this is an agenda issue for them. They can't, if a movie with a primarily Black and African cast fails, they feel that they have somehow let the right wingers win by allowing that narrative to get out, right? Rather than the movie just didn't work, right? And so they're going to try to cover that with everything they can in the media. But because we are now at a stage where there's other sources of information, other sorts of analysis, such as what we do at Midnight's Edge, and especially Valiant's incredible channel, right? And everything the Script Doctor puts out there, they won't be able to sustain that narrative. The reputation of Disney is damaged for everything this past year. I mean, it's all these guys. They're damaged. Amazon is heavily damaged. I posted on my Patreon. I was on a Discord board with a lot of screenwriters. There's a secret Discord board, right? And there's a lot of famous people on there, like people with like Oscars on there. And they were just tearing apart Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
These are prominent screenwriters just writing crap about Lord of the Rings, right? They're like, what is this garbage? I mean, these guys $2 billion? I mean, this isn't grumbling fans. This is professionals saying, what is this crap, right? And so that I posted on my Patreon just picking the names out, but I was like, this is what other professionals are saying. And you're having the same problems with Marvel. And to answer your question, Mike, Kevin Feige has definitely lost a lot of his mojo in the past several years. And I've said this on Midnight's Edge for about 18 months now, that Feige made a big mistake in openly rebelling against Bob Chapek and losing, right? And I think Tom, you said, even he had to admit publicly, I underestimated him. He's a dead man walking. I've said he's a dead man walking for a long time. Of whether he's going to get another year, 2 years of a dead man bounce, I don't know. But we're in a new era right now where all the old idols are crashed. So what builds now?
Well, Cameron, my question is because that you always have such amazing insight. Is do you think it was Feige's mistake? And I know it always comes back in some ways to pop culture or our culture in general. Our keys of communication that glue us together. But don't you think it was a mistake that he started repeating everything that Marvel did as a comic book company? They're making the same decisions that made them go bankrupt.
Yeah, putting out a product that wasn't what the audience wanted in
Right.
comics. Now they're doing that, and it's tragic. I mean, it's tragic because of the stuff that's come out on Marvel television. Like I said, the only thing that I liked was Ms. Marvel, which ended up being a surprisingly good show, and shockingly good show. And everything else is us. Yeah, it's a shockingly good show. It's not what we perceive it to be. It's a very family values.
So it's not
funny.
like She-Hulk. It's not like
George,
I wanted to give She-Hulk a chance because
I wasn't gonna watch it, and I listened to Cameron's review, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I trust this guy's judgment, like I trust script.
Well, I have to check it out now.
And I watched it, and I got to tell you, of all the stuff that I've seen on Disney Plus for one reason or another, That's the show that I can watch with my 9-year-old.
Okay, but then how come Zaslav is able to course correct? No one's been able to answer that question. I've asked that for a
The answer is
couple
very
of weeks.
simple.
Because
he's
how did-
in control. He's absolutely in control. He has no court to answer to. He's Genghis Khan. This is his company.
So that's because he could shelve Batgirl, but Disney couldn't shelve some of their upcoming stuff, which it could be problematic.
No, because again, Disney has a board of directors which have a very prominent voice within the company. Zaslav over at Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't have that obstacle. In fact, if he didn't have the means to cancel Batgirl and offload that debt of that film onto the AT&T, he wouldn't be able to do it. If the deal prevented him from doing that, we would have seen Batgirl regardless.
Oh, really?
No way about it. He had an opportunity to what's called like synergize the company and get some money back. Batgirl was part of that. And he did it. He took it. He said it was the best business decision he could make for that. And he did express regret to the filmmakers and said that they would be working with them again because you have to be diplomatic in that.
Well, thank you for script. But what I found interesting when it was canceled is that he was also talking about the fact that you wouldn't want to put something out there that could damage the brand further. I like that type of thinking, that type of foresight. It's like, I understand what you're saying, and that makes complete sense.
Well, but, I mean, the board. I'm sorry. The brand is damaged. I mean, the brand is damaged.
I didn't think he wanted to damage it further.
I mean, I don't. I mean, I've heard that it wasn't a great film. Okay. I heard that it wasn't a great film. The cut that they had wasn't great. They could have fixed it. I mean, like I said, Ms. Marvel was apparently a terrible show, and they reshot it, and they made a great show. Right? It can be done. He didn't want to spend the time and money on that. He's like, you know what? I don't.
So that's it. So it was just the time. Okay. I thought it was
and
more.
Unfortunately, he's spending the time and money on The Flash and Aquaman and everything else, which. Again, those movies, no matter what they do at the box office, they're never going to make Warner Brothers money, but they will be used as basically commercials for the new DC that's going to be coming. That's how he's going to reconcile it. That's how he's going to justify it on the investors' calls.
Correct.
Which Disney at this point doesn't have that means to do right now.
And that's
that's the difference.
And that's the thing with all these movies that Zaslav is dealing with coming in, right? Like, it's kind of like when Disney bought Fox and they had a handful of movies that Fox hadn't released yet. They're not movies that really matter if they make money per se. Yeah, it'd be great for the company right now, but it's no skin off Zaslav's back if Black Adam would have tanked. To him, it would have pissed him off more because, as he's pointed out, the reason he's killed a lot of these projects that were upcoming was because he was worried about how they were going to upset the brand or Warner Brothers in general. So that's more what he sees this as a long-term thing to where these movies should be paying the bills so that they can make other stuff that is, they can take more risks over here because, DC should be basically taking care of business, right?
They're looking at DC like Paramount did with Star Trek. It brought in enough money to actually afford them to do some experimental stuff, but they knew it wasn't the worldwide hit it was going to be, but it was a very safe, reliable cash flow. And I think Zaslav wants to do that with DC, but I think he's also expecting it to have a greater return because it's DC compared to a slightly nicher, which is Star Trek.
Do you think Chapek's words are going to come back to bite him after that interview he did with the Wall Street Journal? What was it? 2.5 weeks?
I want to say that this guy has learned his lesson from Florida. Just keep saying what these people. Just say what you got to say to make these people happy. Just give them empty talk. Actions are the only thing that matters. Words are what gets reported and agitates the fans. But it's actions that matter, and he's gonna start. And I'd actually love to bring the conversation to that because my Patreon, I think, broke a lot of news this week about stuff that Chapek was gonna do, and this week has been quite shocking.
Well, Cameron, to that point, and real quick to George, two things that you just brought up. First, I'll go in reverse order. So with the whole Chapek comments during the Wall Street Journal interview, he actually didn't say what a lot of people accused him of saying in thumbnails and YouTube videos, right? Disney is not woke and all this kind of stuff, and he dodged the question.
Right, I heard it in nuance. Yeah, I didn't take it from the thumbnails, but I hear it. Yeah, he didn't say yes, Disney is woke. He was trying to be very.
He was deliberately asked the question by the Wall Street Journal interviewer, and he gave a politician's answer, which I mean, we can all not like it, and I get that, but the fact is. Okay, it was a few days ahead of an earnings call. The hell was he going to do? I mean, no, he's going to dodge it, and he's just going to say, "Look, we're trying to build a brand that everybody can feel welcome to, or everybody will feel represented, or whatever verbiage
But at
he
the
said."
same
I'm
time, I can
paraphrasing,
still
The line-
see.
but
Sorry,
he didn't say
the
Disney
line-
is woke or is not woke.
I
Right,
want
the
to. I
line
want
that
to.
caught the line that
Hold
got
on.
me the most.
George, hold on. So let me. I want to throw into this conversation and spice it up a bit. And with Valiant's approval, can I share the Disney chart we used on the earlier stream?
Oh yeah, by all means, go ahead.
All right, so let's understand what we're really dealing with here, people. Because George, what you're trying to do is you're trying to say, well, Zaslow over here with his movies, and Bob Chapek over here, has his movies, and blah 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 blah, and this and why not that. Well, let's just take a look at why not. This is a chart of all the companies that Disney owns, all of them. All right.
Every circle is a division.
Hold on, let me finish. Let me give a tour. Oh, I'm sorry, Carmen. I mean, just give me a second. Let me give a tour. So let's say you care about Star Wars. Okay,
I swear
see
he
that
just
right
called
there?
him Cartman.
See this little thing right here? This little by the Millennium Falcon? That's Star Wars. Oh, I care about Marvel. Well, that's just the top half. That's over here, the left ear. Okay? And so the analogy that I used earlier on Valiant Stream, which is an analogy that I'm going to use, is you're looking at Walt Disney, which is basically a super Walmart, and your Star Wars that you care so much about is a fucking shoe department.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Well, and actually,
Correct.
Warner Brothers is not much different, to be honest with you. They are kind of very similar in the same respect, and that's why.
What they are different about is that they do not have so many different business units that are in so many different service, industrial, and manufacturing segments. The different types of companies that they own and the levels of which that they own them is very different. This is a company, Disney is a company that has a great breadth, and within that breadth also has depth, where they have entities that are owned by entities that are owned by
I agree.
entities.
I agree with you, Mike, except if it's found out that in the shoe department everyone gets fungus in their feet, it's going to affect the brand and it's going to spread. Look at their earnings. Look at the way that their stock crashed. Isn't it at its lowest? Unless I'm wrong.
The problem is you've got people in the media saying fungus is good for you.
Yes.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Turn that into mushrooms.
Fungus? You have a problem with fungus? We're good. I mean,
Well,
so I'm going to deal with that.
Right.
Well, the other thing here, though, too, George, and to Mike's point, I want to quickly address is the fact that, yes, Warner Brothers has those same type of potent IPs. But what you have to understand, the one thing Disney really has that Warner Brothers does not is those parks. And as I covered during my live stream of the earnings call for the Walt Disney Company on November 8th, this past Tuesday, and we had Drunk 3PO on there, and I showed this to him because I had him on the show because he's always in the parks, right? Drunk is a great guy that's boots on the ground, sees what's going on in the parks with Universal, with Disney, with everything. And I said, look at this. Let me show you. Let me show the audience.
It's beautiful graphic.
The biggest source of top line revenue for the Walt Disney Company, very similar to Warner Brothers, is linear delivery broadcast, especially live sports.
Well, I was just going to get
sports.
to that, and that's why I had Mike bring this back up.
Yeah,
as you notice, where Scrooge McDuck is hanging out over there is where all the money is, kids.
Yes.
That's where the money is. Of course, Scrooge McDuck would be right where the money is, because that little section right there funds everything else you see except for maybe the parks, which kind of push back the other way.
Well,
but the parks, as of the last few years here, unfortunately, have not been
but still,
kind of revenue they're used to.
If you look at the earnings report, and this is the point, and this is what I was showing Jay and when I was showing my chat that day. Okay. The top line numbers for linear delivery content, you look at the total fiscal year for Disney was something like $55 billion in revenues. Top line revenues, gross revenues for linear content. A lot of that is live sports. The theme parks and operations was about $28 billion. Okay? Here's the rub. It's the profit margins, the net operating income from live sports. Their profit margin on that for linear delivery is like 30%. But their profit margin from the parks blows it out the water. They make less than half the money from the parks that they do from linear television delivery, but they make triple the profits. from the parks. Disney's biggest source of net operating income, their biggest source of profit margin, is the customer that buys the Magic Kingdom ticket in Orlando, walks in, buys their genie, buys their fast pass or whatever the hell they're calling it now, buys the Grogu doll in Galaxy's Edge. That is the biggest source of profit margin by a frickin' country ass mile for the Walt Disney Company. Warner Brothers does not have that. That's the difference.
So with that in mind, are you saying that, or what I'm hearing from that is that the movies like Marvel and Star Wars are more done for, not for money, but again, for reputation? Or
Commercials.
They're feeding into the merchandise side of Disney. They're feeding into attracting people to the parks for other things. But in terms of actual operating income, net operating income profitability, dude, I hate to tell y'all folks out there watching in chat, Lucasfilm and Marvel, they don't equal like the first 3 weeks of the college football season on the SEC network.
Yeah.
Shoe department.
And this is part of the reason why, like, even though I am in the camp of I got to see some more out of Chapek before I believe he's, really doing any good, I do understand where Cameron and these guys are coming from on a certain plane of, look, Marvel and Disney is as big, and Star Wars as big as they are for Disney. Like Mike's pointing out here, they're basically like the shoe department in the grand scheme of things compared to what ESPN and the parks do.
Indeed.
For Disney, not to mention some of the other products that were, the toys, the merchandising, all that kind of stuff that goes into Disney's parks and just in general, as far as their characters they own and their IPs and all that kind of stuff.
And Cameron made an excellent point. And Cameron made an excellent point earlier, which I'm asking him to repeat. So, Cameron, when you look at this and you have to deal with what does Chapek have to deal with in the levels and the breadth and the depth, what is this guy dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue is, and I actually want to tie this into now the news, and I'm sure Midnight Sets has been talking about it, but the development that happened on Friday, right, which is how this memo came out about this hiring freeze and new layoffs coming at Disney, right, and what's interesting about that, there's many interesting things. One of the things that's in that memo that Chapek put out there is that corporate counsel, Mr. Gutierrez, who is the head counsel, the head lawyer of Disney, is essentially going to be in charge of this process. Now, what happened is 2 days before, I had on my Patreon received, because I've got several Disney employees who are subscribers, and they send me a material that just says, keep us anonymous, but you can put it out there. So 48 hours before that, on Wednesday, a Disney employee sent me the message, hey, I just got word that our division has a hiring freeze and layoffs are coming, right? And I think this is going to spread everywhere, and the word is it's going to spread to Lucasfilm. So I hadn't heard that from anybody, but I said, all right, I know this guy works at Disney. I put it out there, and I didn't hear anything next day. I saw maybe it's wrong. 2 days later, the trades and everybody reports it, right? And now that's the official thing. So actually, we scooped everybody on that. We got it like a 48-hour scoop on it. But what was interesting about the memo that he put out, first, Gutierrez in charge. And I had said in the comments on my Patreon, people asked me, so how does he go about actually getting rid of, if he's going to do layoffs finally, how is he going to get rid of powerful people that have been a problem, right? And I said, well, the only way he's going to be able to do that is if he has corporate counsel involved. I said that 2 days before it was announced that the layoffs were happening and corporate counsel was going to be the one in charge of them, right? And so, and I just want to quote this because it's in the memo that Chapek put out, which to me is the most important thing he said in the memo. It's actually one of the Disney employees, he said to me, look at this line in the memo. And this is what he said. He said, while we will not sacrifice quality or the strength of our unrivaled synergy machine, we must, quote, ensure our investments are both efficient and come with tangible benefits to both audiences and company. What investments is he talking about? He's talking about personnel investments. That's what this memo is about. So if the personnel are no longer serving audience needs, then they're on the chopping block. For him to actually put that out in a memo and say the big boss, head of corporate legal, is in charge of that is earth-shattering from this Byzantine corporate perspective, right? For him to say that means he's going to do what we've been begging him. He finally has the legal paperwork, like Palpatine said, I will make it legal. He finally made it, right? Because he needed that to say, look, we're against the wall here. Our stock price is down. I now have officially declared that personnel that are not serving the audience needs need to go. And that is high enough personnel that I'm putting the number one lawyer at Disney in charge of the firing process. So that when those people go, you can't fire me. Do you know who I am? I'm calling my lawyer. They're going to think twice about doing that when he offers them their severance package, because it's corporate counsel doing it. You don't want to sue us. We already thought this out and we planned this out. So let's part ways gracefully. That is coming now. This is what we've been waiting for, because I have made it legal at last.
Yeah, and here's the thing that, again, like I want to hopefully see some more progress before I really start to back Chapek. But here's where all of this stuff leads into the Zaslav side of things, as to why I've been saying, and other people have been putting out there, that at Warner Brothers, that's why DC is such a big deal comparative to Marvel, where that's where we are going to see a big change earlier on.
Correct.
With DC than we will with Marvel, because of that very reason.
It matters more to
Warner Brothers to fix. They have got to fix this thing now. There's no tomorrow kind of thing about it, and that's why everything from here on out is going to be a very compromised version of what was done before. That as long as it doesn't step on whatever the hell they're planning on doing going forward, that's what we're going to see. Because once 2024 comes along and we're past Joker 2, it's all going to be brand new DCU.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because again, Warner Brothers has been suffering this type of thing in a different way for 10 years with their DC franchise. Marvel is only now essentially 2 years into this. So they, even on this Disney side, I think, they say, well, we're not in that deep of a thing. They can lie to themselves that they're not as big of a problem as they actually are. But Warner Brothers can't, and I think because of that, Zaslav is able to get away with doing what he wants to do, because he's able to say, look at the elapsed time here, and look at our competition. That window is too great. We have to shrink that down to nothing.
You could almost argue that they kind of wanted to try and do this before Marvel even had, because going back to like Dark Knight and Superman Returns and stuff, they were already trying to push for a Superman versus Batman movie then.
Yeah, with Wolfgang Peterson.
Yeah, exactly. And originally their plan was to go hit the ground running with a Justice League movie directed by George Miller, and that fell apart literally at the last minute. They actually had all the cast and everything in Australia.
Yeah, the costumes done and everything.
Sets built. Yeah, everything. Costumes built in the last minute. They pulled the plug. And I think Snyder's mainly to blame for that too, but we're not going to get into that discussion right now. But no, and I like this, Mikey, because this does show how vast of a company that Disney is. And you're right, like, Warner is the same, but they're not exactly into this in the sense that Warner doesn't own, nearly as much. Like they used to have, what was it, Six Flags?
Right, but they don't anymore.
Right. So like that part's gone. And as far as the other side of
I mean, the other thing too is that Warner Brothers Discovery, like Walt Disney has real estate companies. They have property management companies. There are things that they're in different industry segments that Warner Brothers Discovery is not. So there's two things going on, going back to George's comment. One is that we've got Disney has greater depth when we're dealing with business units. And then number two is the fact that Disney has there's three problems. What Script talked about the board of directors. The other problem is that Disney is structured as a business unit subsidiary company where it's like little building blocks of concrete, like a pyramid, versus Warner Brothers Discovery. Zaslav can come in sort of as like, Genghis Khan type of thing and go.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I was always told from forever ago about Warner Brothers, is just how crazy they were. And how nobody really talked to anybody, how there was very little communication between the different departments. They were very compartmentalized, and that was always a problem as well. So hopefully Zaslav can get through that bullshit. But before Valiant leaves us here, because he has to head out the door, got a couple of super chats for you guys out there, so we want to make sure that he gets a chance to address them.
Indeed.
Michael Gonzalez says, Valiant, you said in Paulie's I'm assuming stream.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, I was on Paulie's show yesterday. Yeah, that's what we talked about. Okay.
Namor was 25% different, so the Disney need not pay Kirby Lee estates. Cheddar, are the FF and any other characters you know of going to be that way? I assume he's asking.
A Fantastic Four, I guess. Okay, so on that comment, Michael, that was piggybacking actually off of A Midnight's Edge previous commentary on this. You know, the whole 25% different joke, right? Because that's how they had to do new Star Trek. So we saw like new Kurtzman Trek and new J.J. Abrams Trek. They had to do Star Trek Prime. When they sold the toys in the stores, it said Spock Prime or Kirk Prime. It wasn't original Star Trek. They had to deviate from it to avoid legal entanglements. What I was talking about on this was that, I mean, Disney has been embroiled in lawsuits recently with the estates of people like Jack Kirby, like Stanley, like Steve Ditko, Namor, as he is now. You know, we have to deviate from the original Namor that was half Atlantean and half Scottish. Yeah, Scottish. He was not Scottish in this movie. So, and look, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just want everybody to understand it's, you know, this kind of, it's not so much of an issue of let's be woke, quote unquote, as it is let's avoid another copyright termination entanglement issue. So, I mean, as far as anything else goes, I don't know what they're going to do with Fantastic Four. Yeah, they're probably going to change all this stuff. I honestly, they're going to spend a buku amount of money to hire these big headline actors to come in, and they're going to alter the characters that they're portraying, but they're going to hope that you don't really notice it and that you don't really care that much because, hey, look, we got, you know, we got Hugh Jackman back.
Is it like Angelina?
We're going to get John Krasinski back in. Look, jingling keys. Look. That's it. So,
all right. Yeah, can I actually interrupt for 1 second? I know it's bound, but I just got a DM. I got a DM from one of the Disney employees on my Patreon because he's watching this live stream right now, and he sent me this DM that he wanted me to share. I won't reveal his name, but he let me pull it up.
Breaking news. Hold on. Let me do
on screen then.
It's just what he says. He wanted to share this with the Midnight's Edge crowd because he knows there's a fair amount of skepticism right now about Chapek, and Tom has rightfully voiced it, and I see the skepticism in the chat as well. So I'm just going to quote you what this Disney employee, who's one of the people that helped me break news this week, just DM me. He's saying, "Quote: Tell them, Midnight's Edge, that Disney is so much bigger, so much larger than Warner Brothers. For example, right. Disney owns sports networks all over the world, 30 years in Latin America. Warner Sports is just beginning to expand beyond the U.S. Disney owns a broadcast network. Warner's does not. They can't understand that Zaslav can go faster because he runs a much smaller company." So end quote. So that's a Disney person who has been helping me break news. Just wanted you guys to know.
Those are all things that we've taken in.
He's dealing with something.
Those are all things we brought up and taken into consideration as well. Yeah.
I was going to say real quick before I have to bump. You know, they don't run a traditional linear broadcast like true broadcast.
They do have the CW
broadcast.
Though.
Well, they have
used to anyway.
As someone who's worked there, I got nothing to say about that.
But to that,
I know that's like somebody on a BMX going, "I got a bike too," to a bunch of Harley.
They also own some FTX crypto, so they're fine.
Valiant. Oh, don't even go there.
I was going to say real quick, they don't own a broadcast network like ABC, like one of the big three, like Disney does, but they own a massive swath of linear delivery channels, TNT, TBS. I mean, we pulled up the list after the Warner Brothers earnings call. There's literally 30 to 40 channels, maybe 50 or 60, I don't remember, that is under the Warner Brothers banner. They produce more content that they farm out to other TV channels than anybody else. That's been the case for the last since the 90s at least. But here's the thing, and I want to make this clear. I said this at the end of my live stream today, and thank you all to my chat for being here. If you're still sticking around, you haven't hit the like button yet, hit the like button for Mead. Subscribe to Mead as well. But here's the thing. Zaslav and Bob Chapek are not in the same position. And I will explain it this way, as I did at the end of my show. David Zaslav basically came into power at what is now Warner Brothers Discovery via a very hostile M&A, mergers and acquisition. John Stankey of AT&T, the CEO of AT&T, said, "I have had enough of this bullshit with Warner and what they're costing us. This was a boondoggle. We never should have bought this turd show. We're throwing it out the door. We're going to do what's called a reverse Morris trust. That's going to get us a lot of tax advantages. We're going to spin this thing out into a separate trust that doesn't even exist in America. It was done overseas. And then we're going to have David Zaslav and Warner or Discovery come in, merge with that company, and David Zaslav is going to have carte blanche. This is the difference, folks. What you're looking at right now at the new Warner Brothers Discovery is David Zaslav has God mode powers. Bob Chapek does not have God mode powers. There's no comparing the two. The reason is because David Zaslav, when he took over as chairman and CEO, everything at what is now Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav handpicked the board. The board at Disney picked Chapek. You follow? That's the difference. This is two completely different power situations. David Zaslav can walk into any office, including the boardroom at Warner Brothers Discovery right now, whip it out, slap it on the table, and go, here's what we're doing today. Nobody can tell him otherwise because he has put everybody into the position of power there. Elon Musk is now in the same position at Twitter.
And that's why you see similar media reactions to Musk and Zaslav.
Yes,
you go look
Bob
at the two.
Chapek does not have that power at Disney. So when we complain about, well, why isn't Chapek moving as fast as David Zaslav? That's a big reason why, folks. That's what have to understand.
I'll allow that much leeway, but I want to see more, and that's just me personally. I want to see more action on him. But Patrick James says,
these from Patrick, thank you for watching.
Yeah, we got a
show
couple
earlier.
here for you, Valiant. And he says, just subscribed. So nice to see my opinions validated. Oh crap, I forgot to send some hard cash to Valiant.
You are forgiven.
And then he sends another very generous 20 and says, "Okay, Valiant, here's your tip. You have to get it from Tom. He can
Tom
fight
has defended me $40 now.
If not,
So
I'm just kidding.
No, don't
If not,
do that.
I'll get you on your next show. Love you each and every one of you. I'll make sure I make it up to him. But thank you for that, Patrick. We appreciate the support. And Valiant does have to leave us here.
I do.
So thank you for being here, Valiant. We appreciate your time, and you take care of yourself.
Good to see you,
Y'all
Valiant.
too. Great show. Have a good night, everybody. And thank you to everybody, my chat that's still here. We had actually just under 1,500 people on the live stream tonight at Valiant Renegade. Great show. I'm humbled by it, and I'm glad to have made all these friends you see here on this panel. They've been a big part of this and this community. And I mean, of course, Midnight's Edge was
pretty okay too.
Friends and Mike.
Thank you, Daniel-san. No, but I mean, Midnight's Edge, of course, you guys were big parts of helping me out getting started when I had about 300 subs. I think it was the first time I was on a Midnight's Edge show. I said when I was on a show, you jack weasel. I'm getting to you if you shut up. And of course, Mexican Iron Man, who can't close his mouth long enough to get a compliment. No, I'm kidding. No, but Mike, of course, was subscriber like number 7 of Valiant Renegade, and that's not a joke. But no, what I was getting at, Midnight's Edge, I think one of the first live streams I was on besides Loki and Echo Base Network and Lorena Creole, when I had like 300 subs. And here we are, coming up on 2 years and 15,000.
You was just a wee boy from the bayou.
I know. Well, look, and thank you to all the new subs out there. 300 new subscribers to Valiant Renegade in the last 24 hours.
Awesome.
So,
Wow, crazy, man.
we're getting there, folks. So thank you all, and a great panel. Y'all stick around. I've got to take a break because this has been a long day. I'm still going to be listening in the chat, so make sure you hit that like button.
Stick around, guys. We're not going anywhere.
Take care.
Valiant just has to slide
And
out
Cameron's
here.
got to go to bye, Valiant.
He does,
Cameron's-
but you had a question for him, Mike, and we had a super chat or
Look,
two.
I got like 5 more minutes. I gotta go. Yeah.
Okay, let's do a super chat to him real quick.
Okay.
Okay, we had, let's see here. I think it was
Fuck
Fuck Google. Let's see here. I didn't have it ready because I figured we'd let you do yours first, but that's all right. Fuck Google says, Cameron, any insights on Skydance prospects?
That I've said for some time, I think business-wise, it makes sense for Disney to purchase Skydance and to essentially absorb that back into Pixar and bring John Lasseter back. I think whether they can do that with the current situation, they may be able to, because the memo is all about consolidation, which if everyone watched Valiant's, the live stream that we did just before the show, where he goes into, Valiant explains it in quite a bit of detail, talking about how they're going to have to consolidate Disney. And part of the way of doing that is removing redundancy. So one brilliant way to do that is to buy Skydance and then remove the redundant woke Pixar employees because they're no longer necessary, right? So that if I were him, I would put that on there, and That's the ultimate genius of bringing Lasseter back. Whether that's going to happen or not, we'll see. That's certainly what I would advise, and we just have to figure out whether it makes sense based on their economic situation and what corporate legal issues they would have in merging that company in there, whether Skydance would even want to do it. I think Skydance would if the number was right.
There you go. And with that, Mike, you said you had a question for Cameron before he takes
I have a
off.
comment and a question. My comment is that for those of you who don't know Cameron Pasha, I know I was one of your very first patrons.
Yeah, you were like number 7 for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have been watching Cameron and his leaks or sources or whatever you want to call them predict stuff now for well over a year. And it has been a fascinating journey to watch discussions happen and then history write itself. So I want to congratulate you. I want to promote your Patreon as I did when I was just, one of your first 10 patron members. His link's in the chat. You should sign up for it. It is a fascinating, active community, and I'm a patron member to a lot of patron channels. I'm a channel member to a lot of channels. Cam, it is the best dollar. I'm at his highest level, and I think it's the best dollar per buck that I spend on any channel anywhere. Period. I mean,
and I'm posting like 3 times a day. I mean,
it is absolutely fascinating and amazing to watch your work in terms of your predictions and what ends up happening. So that's my comment. That's my plug for you. Thank you for coming on the show, Tom, and I appreciate it. And thank you very much. Yeah, my question is this. Well, as you walk out the door,
yes,
give us your best guess or your best estimate as to what you think we as fans can see happening in this industry, specifically as it relates to Disney and Lucasfilm. What might the next 6 to 12 months hold for us? As you know, if today were December 2023 and looking back, what might happen from where you stand?
Okay. Well, I am of the opinion that this memo that Mr. Chapek put out on Friday, which again we scooped 48 hours in advance, but if this memo very much lays out his plan, which he states that we have no choice but to put a hiring freeze in now, and also to begin layoffs, and we're going to be focusing on those things that are not serving the audience. He says that in his memo, and we're putting corporate legal in charge. So that tells me that the next year is going to be the axe falling. On my Patreon, I've got this section called Order 66, where every time we see some kind of surprising news, like Peter Rice being fired, that I didn't see that coming, right? Or another thing I didn't see coming, Michelle Rejwan, who many of us believed was going to be the successor to Kathleen Kennedy whenever she left, right? And she was very mysteriously let go a couple of weeks ago without explanation, right? Because I haven't heard any reason for her to be let go. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of those kind of surprises, and people say, I've been saying Kathleen Kennedy's going to go. Look, I think that her being in charge of Lucasfilm at the end of next year is highly unlikely. Indiana Jones 5 will be out in whatever form it's out, whether it's released to theaters, whether it ends up being on streaming. I know not everyone believes that it'll go to streaming. I think it is possible if they cannot fix it in reshoots. But regardless, it'll get out there, and then she'll move on. And of course, the people who are skeptics will say, well, it had nothing to do with you. You've been predicting that for 5 years. Everything has a time to come. And I think this memo has given Chapek the ability to knock heads throughout the company and do it in a very ruthless fashion that we saw he can be ruthless. We saw it with Peter Rice, where he brought in a guy who was actually saying, I want his job, talking to the board saying, fire him, put me in his job. And he just calls him in out of nowhere and says, you're fired, pack up. You have 10 minutes to leave the lot, right? One of the most powerful people in Hollywood. He just says, get out, right? He can do that. Only he does that when he feels he has the leverage, because he's a politician. He's not a Genghis Khan warrior like Elon Musk is, or like David Zaslav is. He's a politician who's risen up the belly of this beast for 30 years. And so he got rid of Peter Rice. How did he do it? He heard that Rice was gunning for his job. He said nothing. He let Rice make public announcements that were attacks on him. He said nothing. He heard that Rice was quietly talking to board members that maybe I should take his job. He said nothing. And then he privately met with all the board members in a weekend and said, all right, I need all of you to back me versus Peter Rice. And he laid out his argument why he was the guy. And they backed him. And without Peter Rice even knowing this was happening, he's thinking he's about to execute a coup. He comes in, he gets thrown out. Right, he gets thrown out of the office and thrown out, and it would shock the whole Hollywood that he did that. And so Chapek is capable of doing these kind of ruthless maneuvers once he feels he has all of the chess pieces in place, because he is a survivor. I worked at Disney. I survived there, what, like 7-8 months before they fired me, right? You know, because I don't have his skills of, I got a big mouth. I speak what I feel, and I got fired. This guy keeps it close to the chest, so close, nobody sees it coming, and he creates a perception that he's weak. And it's a perception that Kevin Feige went up against and lost. So far, I have not seen a single person defeat this guy, and that speaks for itself. He should have been fired. He should, after Florida, Peter Rice should have his job. That's what Hollywood said was going to happen. It's not what happened. So now with this memo, I think the next year is going to be a cleaning house that people will be shocked by, and I do think it will be prominent enough people that we're going to be hearing about it. It won't just be somebody working in the cafeteria at Lucasfilm. There's going to be enough people that it's going to start getting out, and he's got the cover. Said this isn't personal, nothing against you, Kathleen Kennedy. We gotta clean house. We did a bad quarter. And I have my corporate affairs legal affairs taking over. So I think the next year is going to be a lot of Order 66 type execution. That's my opinion. So far, some people in the chat have said, what have you been right about? I think anyone who's been following me on Midnight's Edge knows that I tend to have been right about a lot of things. If you don't know that, you haven't been following Midnight's Edge. And on my Patreon, I list pretty much as predicted, and it comes true and as predicted. And my ass came true in the last several days, where I said this is what's going to happen, and 2 days later, 48 hours later, it happened, right? And so I'm pretty confident that that's what's coming. Chapek is not the man. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. He doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care what I think. He doesn't care what he doesn't care what the fans think. He cares about surviving and leaving a legacy. So he'll let himself be the bad guy. He'll let himself be perceived as weak. He'll let himself be perceived as wokester. Whatever face he needs to play to survive the next chess move, he will play it. He does not care how it is perceived because he's looking at the long-term victory. And so far, this guy hasn't lost. He still has his job. He got his contract extended for 3 years when everyone in Hollywood said he's about to be fired. Everyone said that. Now he's extended to 2026, right? His contract was going to 2023, 3 more years. So that's my opinion. That's what I think is coming. If he doesn't do any of these things, I think it's a wasted opportunity. He's got his sword now. And if he doesn't do it, then, it doesn't make sense for the man's character that I've witnessed for the last 2 years. He acts when he feels he has a weapon, and now he's got a weapon. And that's all I'll say on that.
Well, now's his time. And with that, I know you got to leave us, Cameron, but as one man leaves, another man enters, just like Thunderdome. It's $8 Culture Casino.
That's right. I'm here. $8.
Oh, you're coming exactly as I'm going, and you got this pieces of Nazareth thing going on.
No. Oh, hey, look, you're rocking the Shorn Dome perfectly, my friend. I love it, and I miss you. I don't get to hang out with you anymore. You're too busy.
I'll come back. I'll be the John the Baptist to your Jesus.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything, Cameron. Thanks for coming.
I didn't let you speak this whole time. Six, are you still there? Did I overtalk you the entire hour that I was here? She might not be there.
Well, Cameron, it was good to see you. I just signed up on your Patreon.
Six is actually having some major audio issues, unfortunately, so I don't even know if she can hear us right now.
George, the money you spend signing up for him is going to be money well spent. It is a fascinating Cameron's Patreon. It has been a fascinating ride.
Oh no, I was just looking through it. I'm like, oh, I'm on a live stream. What am I doing?
Yeah, I know. Well, it means a lot to me, and I'm going to send you a message when I get there. So everyone, stay here. There's going to be a lot more great conversations with some of the smartest people on YouTube, and I'm glad that there's debate in the chat. You need to have open conversation. You need to have different points of view. That's what the Midnight's Edge engenders. So everyone, God bless everyone, and I will talk to you soon. So, Doctor, my friend, we'll talk soon. Take care,
brother.
Take care, Cameron.
Did anybody, you know what no one's talked about in the last 24 hours? About Dave Chappelle. Did anyone hear his opening?
From the
I did.
Yeah.
And sadly, we just missed one for Cameron. Here, I'll send this to him and see if he can answer me real quick on it. And
but you're right. I mean, he did a 15-minute monologue that was fire.
Well, his basic thing was why the hell is anybody afraid to say anything? I mean, he's like, forget right or wrong. You shouldn't be so terrified. Everybody should say what they want. Yeah. Not that it's smart to,
No, he knows that. Are you kidding? But again, that guy has plenty of money, and he's and everybody's going to give him money. I mean, and it's kind of the reason he went off the way he did, George. I think that he's like, look, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. Sometimes that's, some people do that on accident, and sometimes, some people do it on purpose. And, he wasn't wrong. I mean, it's just he terrifies everybody because he's got that Carlin vibe. He's gonna come out and just say stuff. Of course, he also calls out people for saying stuff when it's dumb. I mean, he went it down on Kanye and on Kyrie Irving and everything else. But that was a good monologue.
It was. I mean, it was classic Chappelle. Yeah. Did you see it, Script?
Yeah. I did. I saw that, and then I saw Chappelle wrote the House of the Dragon sketch that was probably I think the funniest thing they had on that hour.
Yeah, I'm afraid to watch it because I can't stand SNL anymore. But
no, I hate it. I just watched it for him.
Well, the clip's out there. You can just watch the clip.
I watched the clips of his monologue. I heard the 2 bits that have been out there. But I mean, I got Peacock. I think it's on there, so I might as well watch it. If not,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, could you imagine, honestly? And I think Script, you said this the other day. If he'd written the whole show, it had been the best show they would have had in 30 years.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I'm gonna start calling you Colorado Casino.
Well, that's the sad part is that I don't know what's going on with Lorne Michaels, or maybe his executive producer, the one that's doing more of the heavy lifting over the last recent years. Is
Lorne Michaels is still alive
because the cast that the players that they're bringing in are pretty god awful. I think like Cecily Strong is the only good one there, and then basically for her impressions, like she does some really fantastic impressions still. But
I was just
the rest
thinking
of the cast is just not doing anything. Like
I think people in Times Square Script have more talent. You know what I'm talking about? The people in Times Square.
Well, here's what I was just thinking of last night or the night before when I was watching Elf, the Will Ferrell movie. I'm like, this is the last talented person to come through Saturday Night Live. Between him and Tina Fey?
Aykroyd.
Well, no, but I know, but I mean, in recent years, like that is the last. You know how long it's been since Will Ferrell and Tina Fey and stuff like that have all been on fucking SNL.
Well, yeah. Well, Kate McKinnon was kind of the last one, but she's kind of disappearing.
Stand her. I am sorry. I know a lot of people like her, but yeah.
I left when that guy. I can't remember his name. He just made a movie. It was in New Jersey. He's really tall, really skinny. He's got tats up here.
Well, that was the problem. I don't know which one. Are you talking about?
I know you know. We talked about it.
Yeah,
like,
Pete Davidson.
Pete
Davidson.
He's among. He's terrible.
That's why I said when that era came in, I left. I was like,
yeah.
Okay, here's what happened after the Will Ferrell era. You had a bunch of these guys like him and what's his face, Andy Samberg, and some of these other guys who've got who's the other one who has their own TV show now? Can't think of it. But like these basically these semi-pretty boys who thought they were funny because women laughed at them in high school, but they really aren't that funny. That's what we have gotten for the last few years.
I mean, where are the Belushis? Where are the Belushis? You know,
they don't allow them on television anymore. Chris Farley was like the last of those kind of guys. You know what I mean? Like
he died a couple of weeks after his last SNL appearance.
Yeah. They don't. George, I don't know that we're ever going to get. Well, I'm not going to say it that way. I don't know that any time in the near future we're going to see somebody like that. That just.
You mean a group like that, like Belushi and Aykroyd?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, arguably, SNL hasn't been funny in 30 years. In my
opinion, we've had way more Chevy Chase likes in SNL over the last 10 years than we ever had before.
Yeah, and I
like him though. You know what I'm saying? Like even there was that movie I just saw a trailer for, which I didn't realize was out. They did another Fletch. I was like with John Hamm.
Fletch. I was talking about it a few weeks ago. It's actually not bad.
Is it not bad? So I should check it out.
Pretty much unrelated to the Chevy Chase one, so keep that in mind.
I'll take your word. You say it's good.
But outside of with SNL, outside of Che and Yost doing their like write jokes for each other a bit, right? There's Jackal that's interesting on SNL, and the only reason
are the main show writers too. That's the other part.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I mean, without those two guys writing those edgy jokes, right, where they write jokes for each other, you know, you wouldn't have.
Right, here's another guy they're missing, and this is one of the most undersung motherfuckers on SNL there ever was.
Hater, yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. But he's doing. He's
one of the.
His Barry show is still doing well. Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say,
show is great.
People don't realize this motherfucker worked for South Park, and I think he even worked with Mike Judge and some other people.
Yep.
Like this guy knows his shit, and he was like completely overlooked through a lot of the years on SNL.
He kind of bounced SNL back because Will Forte and their crew really did hurt
Oh.
SNL.
I don't like Forte either. Yeah, he's another one.
I was always surprised Dennis Leary never made it to SNL as a
He
permanent.
did. I'm glad he didn't. It would have ruined him. But look,
He would
right
have been
now,
a great replacement for what's his face on the news section though. When they got rid of
Nealon,
Colin Quinn or Norm Macdonald or
I was thinking way back to what's his face. I think Nealon's who I'm thinking about.
yeah,
well, Kevin Nealon came in after Dennis Miller.
Dennis Leary.
yeah,
Dennis Leary would have been a
Miller,
great takeover for
Nealon.
Dennis Miller's who I was thinking about.
Yeah, oh God, yeah, Leary after Miller would have been perfect. But, okay, so right now, so the average size of the writer's room for SNL is like 12, but usually it bloats up and you end up with like 22 people in that room. And I feel like every single one of those people is just a watered down, just a watered down class clown. None of them are funny. I mean, back in the day, I mean, the get or the regular hosts, the people that were, the cast members, the players,
They're not ready for prime time players. No.
They wrote a lot of the shit. I mean, you had a writer's room, sure, that they contributed indeed, but there are a lot of sketches that came out of the minds of those incredible human beings, and that doesn't happen anymore.
No, it still happens. It's just the thing is they don't write anything good, so the other writers have to pull all the weight, because that's the part. Like, all you would get from like when you hear interviews from Dana Carvey, Mike Myers, not so much Chris Farley anymore, but like Phil Hartman back in the day, they would all say like, yeah, we would pitch our sketches, and then they'd be shot down by either Lauren or one of the other writers because there'd be something wrong with it, and in order for us to, we'd have less than a day to rewrite it and pitch it again if we wanted to make Showtime. And even then, it maybe would make Showtime, but it'd be cut during the rehearsal, and then they'd have to rewrite something else new to fill in the time. That's still a practice now, but because they don't have the writers anymore, the gravitas, the people that are actually edgy, the lazy stuff gets through. It's
the good
like,
competition, yeah. And I wonder, Script, if another part of it isn't like that competition went out the window, because I'm sure there's a lot of writers and people who work on the show who get their skits on now because of, basically their identity, let's say.
Could be.
I was curious about that too, but yeah.
One of the best, okay, so if you want insight into how a late night show like SNL runs,
watch 30 Rock, basically.
No, fuck that. Fuck 30 Rock in the ass.
Yeah.
No, it was a better written show by Aaron Sorkin that would only survive television for a short period of time, that gave you some insight into that writer's room and the evolution of how things come together for a show like that. It was called Studio 60 on the Sunset Script. Now,
it was canceled because it wasn't funny.
No,
that was the only reason.
No, exactly. But it gave you an accurate depiction of the way shows come together. It wasn't funny, but it was basically his West Wing version of how SNL and shows like that get cracked. It's how those shows come together, because Script just described exactly the process that's on display almost every episode of that show.
I like the Larry Sanders show.
Yeah, Larry Sanders was excellent.
Larry show is actually probably better.
Larry
Sanders.
Well, it's true. I was talking about something recent. But yeah.
No, but yeah, there was a lot of competition though, especially back in that Mike Myers, Dana Carvey era, because those guys were so good that you had, like, you got to remember, like, things like Wayne's World was a throwaway fucking skit that was literally just to fill the last 2 minutes of a show once, because they whatever skit they had set up.
It was because sketch.
Something had come up short, so they needed they needed just a little quick sketch thing, and it just became this huge thing,
and it ballooned. And again, I mean, from the minds of some of these comedic geniuses, we don't have that anymore. I mean, who's somebody you can point to that's like there.
Look, I'll even go back to the worst of the 80s, right? Like, and I'll still say it's better than this shit. I'll take Toonces the Driving Fucking Cat over some of this shit, and that was
also the Mike Myers, Dana Carvey.
That was that era, but that was during the John Lovitz.
John Lovitz had just left, and it was David Spade and them
and all those guys.
What year did Murray leave?
Murray left.
That was 80.
No, I don't remember.
80. That whole cast left in 80.
So was Murray and Aykroyd together, or Aykroyd stayed after him?
The original cast all left in 80. Everybody
all left in 80. Murray came in 1 year after he replaced Chevy Chase.
Yeah, he's not actually an original member of the cast. Most people don't remember that, because Chevy Chase left after a year because he went and thought he was going to be a big movie star.
Wasn't that with Caddyshack?
Oh, that didn't happen until 80 as well.
No, that was years later.
He stumbled and bumbled basically until Caddyshack is what happened. Chevy didn't get a big hit really himself personally until National Lampoon's Vacation.
And then
that was his first big hit.
And then and the movie he got paid for was Fletch, which is weird.
Yeah.
Well, that was him saying, I want a Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
And that was because he was getting pissed that he was getting shown up by the cast that came in after them, which was Eddie Murphy and all those guys. And that's the thing. The only reason Saturday Night Live is still around to this day is Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Period. If it wasn't for Eddie Murphy coming in and saving Saturday Night Live, it would have got canceled.
Oh, wow.
There's no way it would have survived that cast. That was one of the worst casts in the world. There's no way Joe Piscopo would have been able to carry that whole cast the way it was.
No,
it
but
just wasn't.
Joe Piscopo, what the hell happened to him? I think he got into politics or something.
And he died. Didn't he die?
No, he's still alive.
He's not dead.
He's just still hitting the gym like crazy.
No, I know.
I think his politics.
I
I think George is right. I think a lot of his politics.
He got Republican, I think, or conservative.
And not only that, he just never. Oh, he had like a couple of movies that just didn't land.
Dude, my favorite role for him in a movie was still in Johnny Dangerously.
Yes.
My mother hooked me on a hook once.
Well, that's an example, though, Culture, is he had a few of those vehicles come out. There was that. There was the one he did with A Fine Mess, or not A Fine Mess. What's the other one I'm thinking of? Wise Guys. There was the one he had come out, and that one didn't do anything. There's a couple other ones he did there that just completely failed at the box office.
Well, the one thing that you're also
Dead Heat.
Oh.
But the other part too on this SNL thing that you're forgetting, Tom, is that after Eddie Murphy, they did have another lull, and they were about to be canceled until Phil Hartman got in.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And
Phil Hartman
John
saved that show, and he was considered the godfather of SNL until he left for News Radio. And
don't forget about Billy Crystal, though. He helped save it in that era.
The whole cast of News Radio, I mean, they could have been SNL. They could have been.
Billy Crystal was like that bridge between the Eddie Murphy era and the Phil Hartman era, basically, because that's when you had
That's
marvelous
season,
and all
right?
that shit. Yeah.
What
was that? Sorry.
Say again.
He was only there for I think one season.
I think 1 or 2 seasons. Yeah, he was for only a short period of time, but he really kept it alive until Lovitz and Hartman and Carvey really kind of came in and really gave it that boost in the mid to late 80s there. And they were the new era, right? And then that led into the 90s era when the new guys came in with Sandler and Farley and Chris Rock. And that's another thing. People forget Chris Rock started there too.
I forgot
Chris Rock
that.
actually got fired after 3 seasons, I think.
Yep.
And I look, News Radio is one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh,
I mean, the cast was incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
I just, so good.
Didn't Murphy leave after Raw?
Oh no, Murphy left in 83 or 84.
Yeah, he wasn't there long. That was just like
Wasn't it right after Raw?
No, it was after 48 hours because he actually came. Yeah, Raw was actually 87.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a little later. He did Delirious around that same time though, which was
Delirious.
the HBO special.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. When was Delirious?
83 or 82.
God, that was so great.
Same year as 48 hours, so I think it's 82.
Oh, Nick Nolte and him. Yeah, that.
Yeah, and Billy Crystal was on from 84 to 85, so you're right. Script.
Dude, Crystal didn't last very long. And
but he bought the show back because he had the Marvelous guy and he had a couple other bits.
Marvelous.
That he just kept it going.
You know what I just remembered? I think the first time I saw Billy Crystal was on this show when I was a kid that an uncle of mine watched called Soap.
I remember Soap.
Soap was so good. Christopher Lloyd.
He played a homosexual in Soap.
Yes.
Christopher Lloyd wasn't in that. Christopher Lloyd was in Taxi. What am I doing? I'm old. I'm putting two things.
I'm younger than you, and I remember Soap.
I wonder if anything like Soap could be on today. It's like I just remember just.
I don't think today's audience would get it.
Yeah,
I
think I scripts right, probably. Well, there's soap operas aren't what they used to be. Now, if you did it in the vein of like maybe making fun of Telemundo, maybe that would work. Who
was the super hot chick in Soap?
I got a great idea for a new soap opera. We'll call it As the YouTube Channels Turn.
Speaking of YouTube, Six, are you still there with us? I know you were having some audio issues.
I'm here. I don't even know if you can hear me though.
Yeah, we can hear you again.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh wow.
So, do a Spanish
Okay, let's do it.
Soap,
Let's
would
run
you-
a test. Say, Mexican Iron Man, you are the sexiest man alive.
Mexican Iron Man, you are the sexiest man alive.
Test approved.
Yeah, this is what I was trying to figure out because I know Eddie was actually one of the, I think he was the first, if not one of the few and first cast members to host an episode, because Nick Nolte was supposed to be on the winter of '82, I think it was, and he was still a cast member, and Eddie took over hosting duty because the story was Nick Nolte had the pneumonia or was the flu or something like that, but I'm sure it was probably a drunken stupor somewhere. But
dude, he was probably under arrest in like Southern California for drunk driving and battering an old woman or some shit. That dude, holy crap!
Bitch had it coming.
Oh, did y'all read? This was like a week and a half ago. It's been something I've been wanting to talk about for this time. There was an article in Bounding and Comics, and it was talking about this studio had put on an alpha and a beta test between a current project that they had written. It was about this black lesbian police officer who is going to move down south and how she's going to deal with racism and trans issues because of a friend and blah, 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 blah. So they showed that to one audience, and then they showed another show to the other audience, but it was halfway done where they said the audio wasn't done properly, the effects weren't finished, and they basically took 30 minutes from old Starsky and Hutch, put in a new car, and they said, okay, this is about two detectives in Las Vegas who have that, boss who shouts all the time, but he's got a heart of gold. They use all kinds of weapons, shoot everything up, have sexy ladies, throw out one-liners. And it said with a show that was barely watchable, that 98% of the audience, like, we like that one. And so it said the studio had to go back and retool that one. Like, we're going to try this same show, but instead of her being a cop, we're going to put her in the military. And they said they tried to sell that to Netflix, and Netflix turned it down. They said, we'll just go back and keep retooling it. And I was like, did they not get the message? Like, they like something that's done.
Speaking of not getting the message, George, I mean, think about the test audiences for Indiana Jones 5.
I haven't read anything about that yet.
I haven't read about that yet.
You never get with clarity in Hollywood is notes on what you're pitching. They'll because again, when it comes to the industry, you don't want to make enemies with people as they're on their way up because you'll most likely be needing them on your way down.
You told me that you hedge. You told me everyone hedges.
Oh, of course. That's all they do.
But when they get it back from a test audience, right, and you've pumped this millions into this or however much they spend on this pilot, and everybody hates that, but they like the thing that was half produced. Doesn't that say something? Because
it depends on the test audiences. Are they as detailed with regards to what they hate, or is it a rating system where they press green button if you like it or red button if you don't, and they see the spots of what they don't like, but all they have to go on is, okay, that part they didn't like it. Why didn't they like it? We don't know. We probably didn't get a detailed enough explanation from that. That's if it was under a test audience. If it was just the producers, they'd be like, it's not the right fit for us. We need something more with these characters. We need to either have more action or we need to have more drama. Like they'll give you broad generalities.
It was a focus group. I pulled it up here. It was a focus group. It was two focus groups. And one got to watch a woke series about a black police officer going to the South. The other one watched a problematic action film that takes place today. But
you just have to read what did they, in the focus group, how detailed were they on their criticism? And that's the other part too.
Because
if they're detailed, they would receive it. And if they're smart, they'd listen to it. And if they're not smart and they're stubborn, then they'd just be, doing the insane thing, which is repeating the same mistakes over and over in a new way. Not getting the message. It all depends on how deep the focus group is.
With script, do focus groups, when they test these with the test audiences, do they actually provide good information, or is it skewed most of the time?
Depends on who they're going with, and that's why
it depends on who's conducting the.
Do you get the information that you want? Like if you had a focus, you don't.
Oh, usually
you have. They usually have papers or cards that people check off a box and maybe have a little comment section that you can fit maybe a forward sentence on.
Oh,
that's the general stuff. It's very brief because you don't want to waste a lot of time on it.
More test audiences have destroyed movies and television shows than have actually helped them.
Oh, and it's not as sophisticated. George, you and I are probably more familiar with political stuff.
Yeah,
it's not as sophisticated a measurement tool as like a dial group. Where
that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, it's not like that. It is.
They have the laziest version of that.
Yeah.
I thought it would be done like every second, just like you do in a political
No,
campaign.
no, it's not. Yeah, it's not a dial group. You're not waiting an
Well, if
opinion.
they're actually doing it in a focus group situation, like Script's talking about, I mean, they may do it now, like on tablets. I don't know. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, Script, but like, basically, my memory of it is they basically just hand you like a 3x5 card, and they ask you things like, "What was your favorite scene? Who was your favorite character? What didn't you like them, or what part did you hate the most? What part did you like the most?" Just like random stuff like that, and then like they have like a little section where you can like leave suggestions and things. But like Script said, it's very small.
Yeah.
So
You
you're
can't
only
write
getting
a lot in it, and it's done
Yeah.
deliberately so, because here's the other part too. In Hollywood, especially executives, they hate to read. So they really want stuff done in as brief as possible.
Wow. You mean
So
they really hate to read, or is that
they
sarcasm?
just don't have they hate to read, and they don't have the time for
time.
it, because
Oh, okay.
everything is meetings and making deals and getting stuff
Gotcha.
done. That's why they hire readers. And because readers are the young Turks that come out of college,
They're dumb.
they skew the data of what is people are writing and what is tracking in the
So
industry.
they're the
because-
gatekeepers. The readers are the gatekeepers, basically.
Believe it or not,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Wow.
they are.
Wow.
The slubs are the gatekeepers, because the thing is that the screenwriter's job is to basically problem solve and pay attention to what's going on in the market and write something that they think will best serve that market. That's how it works. And so we are doing the research for what we think is going to sell, what stories we want to tell, and how we want to tell them. But if you have another group of people that are writing stuff that they want to tell that has nothing to do with the market, and they're sending it to their friends who happen to be readers at prestigious studios, those scripts are going to go up to the next level, and the ones that are more researched in the market are going to be tossed aside. And so it's not based on merit, and that's how you skew the data. That's how you get into
Gotcha.
positions of this, where you have those ideologues going, well, I don't like John Wick because it's a
Right.
straight white male who's avenging his dead dog and girlfriend, but we do have this awesome female empowered army veteran that's killing white supremacists. So I'm going to send that up there because that's the subject matter that we need to tell. Those are the stories we don't get. Those should be more interest to people. And then John Wick just circulates around for months on end until basically stuntmen who want to do directing are like, that's it, we'll just make it ourselves, god damn it. and then we have 4 movies later. That's just how it is, and it's tragic. It never used to be that way, because when you were a reader, and I've done this before, you were told, just send up the best scripts you can. You have to write coverage for everything. You read a screenplay, you write a coverage, it's like 1 page, and you have a pass or
Right. That makes sense, because what you're talking about is like you could have these people, especially from universities today. I mean, they're literally in some ways helping to poison the culture by their own ideological
absolutely
belief
they are.
system.
They
Yes,
totally,
you're
and they know,
absolutely
and they're
right.
well aware that they're doing it too. That's the other side of it, George, and that's what we're trying to point out. But like, yeah, like in the history of like testings and all that kind of stuff, there's only a handful of times where I can think of a test audience was actually good for a film.
Why?
Right. And the 2 times that come to mind right off the bat are 30, 40-year-old fucking movies. And that is Ghostbusters, because the head of the studio at the time had no faith in Ghostbusters. In fact, they were convinced that they were basically going to be bankrupt because this goddamn movie was costing so much. And then he completely changed his tone the moment they had the first test screening, and the audience fucking loved it. Like, they ate it up. So like at that moment, he completely, he saw it with an audience through different eyes, but at that point it was like something he didn't enjoy. Same thing with Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That movie sat on a fucking shelf for a year because 2 studios pretty much went belly up in the process of it being made. And Orion, who wound up with it, like, well, what the fuck do we do with this? They're like, well, maybe we can send it straight to video. Okay, well, they tested it at some fucking mall.
At a mall?
And the test subjects that were like basically kids, like 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, and they loved it. So they're like, holy shit, this is the highest rated fucking movie we've ever tested in the history of Orion. And this is right around the same time they just did RoboCop, which was their last one. So like they're like, what the fuck do we do with this? And it was because the perfect audience had got to see it, right? It was and the other one that I could think of that was just kind of a fun test audience story, and this has nothing to do with the story other than we're going to have to say goodbye to Mikey, and we're going to get back to another test screening stories.
Yeah, I got to go as well.
Back to the Future was a fun one because the first group that ever saw Back to the Future had no fucking idea what they were getting into.
Mm-hmm.
All they knew is that Michael J. Fox was in it and Christopher Lloyd was in it. That was it. That was all they were told. When Einstein is put in the car and sent a minute into the future, the audience started freaking the fuck out because they thought they blew up the dog.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're like, oh shit, what do we do?
And
While
when
they like,
and when that dog came back,
then things changed. Then it became a very different story. But like at that point, they're like, okay, I think we're okay. Because by the time we sell this movie, people will already know what the plot is. So I think we're like overthinking this a little bit because they were panicked too. They're like, well, what do we do? What do we do? Like people are thinking we kill that dog. You know, it's like,
Well, they just got to wait a second.
yeah, well, yeah. But at that point, they just had to kind of think about it like, well, wait a minute. These people went into this cold. They had absolutely no idea what the fuck they were watching, right? By the time this movie actually comes out, the advertisements will be very clear that this is a time travel movie about Michael J. Fox meeting his parents when they were the same age as him, right? Like once that's put in your head and you realize it's a time machine, all that goes out the window. But at that point, like I said, nobody had known what Back to the Future was. It wasn't like anybody had seen a preview, had any inclination of what the story was. This was a completely cold audience. And at that time, all they knew about these characters was Michael J. Fox was in Family Ties and Christopher Lloyd was in Taxi. That's all they knew. They had no idea. But anyway, so Mikey, you gotta leave us here soon. And we had I think a member chat that was addressed to you. Am I right?
For me,
Six?
oh my god, I'm so honored. Wow, no one ever
It's this one here, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
No.
What
Oh,
does
we
it say?
grab it. Go ahead, Six.
Hello?
There we go. Shoo
Shum.
for 16 months. There you go. Go ahead.
Maximum effort puppy. Be careful. The last time Mexican Iron Man got intimate with anything, Mexican Iron Man threw out his arm. Okay, you know what? Okay, you know what? That's what hashtag fake news.
He's not wrong though.
What? No. What? No. No one. Hashtag fake news.
Wait, is that what actually happened, Mike?
No, that's not what happened.
He jumped out a window.
Yeah.
This is the story
escaping.
I heard.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So that must have been some really weird,
A
strange
very
things.
pissed off husband. Yeah.
No.
Was that when you were in your thong?
No. It's
Yeah. The whole thing went wrong.
okay. You guys are writing a script live. Script. You guys are like table reading a script of my life.
No, these are facts that were brought up by what was it, Loki or somebody? I swear.
No, it's fake.
I thought
news.
Valiant said it backstage.
Valiant said it too. So this is multiple sources now.
Yeah,
I've been
we
hearing
can-
this
we
for
can-
days.
Yeah, we can now
That's
confirm.
3 sources.
Yeah, we can now confirm.
Script.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hire you to rewrite this live stream chat of what they just said just now.
sounds good.
Even though you're Doogie Howser and you're not really a writer, you're really a medical.
Why do you
doctor.
keep calling him Doogie Howser?
Because he's the blue.
Because that's who he is. He's like 14 years old, and he went through a portal at the hospital, and then he showed up, and he's trying to pass himself off as a screenwriter. I know Script's true identity. He's Doogie Howser, MD. He's like went through a time portal.
Well, you
Look
know,
at him. You
Doogie
can see
Howser
the
did write that journal on his old word processor, so
Yeah.
What now?
Yeah, but Doogie's gay, and I don't think Script's gay because he doesn't
Anyways,
have a girlfriend. Even
thanks
though
for
she's from
having me.
Canada, and I'll never meet her.
Wait,
Thanks
wait,
for having
wait,
me.
Wait, we have another one for you.
wait,
I
yeah,
do have another one. Okay.
Why is Mexican Iron Man running away? Does he not want to be in a stream
Dude,
with
no,
me?
it's 10:45 at night Eastern. I still got to do my shoulder physical therapy exercise.
Oh,
yeah.
is that the wink wink? I gotta
I got
do my
2 or 3
shoulder.
more hours of
Okay.
shit I got to do, and it's 10:45 as it is.
He's got a nurse coming in to help.
He's
him
got
with
a
physical
nurse.
therapy.
Help him. A
No,
nurse.
Use the other
You know,
hand.
Wait, who's the nurse? Depends who wants the job. If George wants to be my nurse, no.
It was the lady from like a few nights ago when you got injured, like about
Trust
a
me,
month
there's
ago.
places you can call up and they'll have him dressed like a nurse, Mike. Okay.
First of
Shanatsky.
all, that was Joe, the physical therapist, and no, I don't want to see Joe, the physical therapist, show up at my house at night.
Shanatsky's. Oh, Joe can be a girl's name.
Yeah. What are you doing,
Josephine, Joanne.
Jojo?
Jody.
I don't know. I gotta get going too, guys.
Joni.
No.
All right. Do we have any
Yes.
for George? Well, I'm gonna read this one quick for Shanatsky, or from Shanatsky to Mexican Iron Man. You should pay you. Midnight said should pay you if they don't. Well, we try to pay him.
No, yeah, they've actually. Funny you say that they've actually tried multiple times, and I've said nope, not happening. I'll disappear the first day.
No, he's an investor. And Six, was there any for George as well?
Not at this moment, no.
Okie dokie. So George and Mikey have to leave, but we have 70s rock band tagging in for us.
Hello. See, I'm fulfilling the role of stream ender
Bye-bye.
Exactly.
Bye, Mikey.
He's
Have
the
a great week,
closeout
everybody.
pitcher.
Yeah, wait, George.
Yes.
George, do you have anything you want to plug before you take
Yeah,
off?
plug things.
No, I put up a new video today. It's basically
Mikey
like
likes to
why
pretend
woke-
he's not a YouTuber, so he's just like,
No, it's like why woke shows fail, and I went through Rings of Power and some of the things, plus the way they're trying to bribe people in Brazil and around the world, and we're showing what they were doing to get them to watch the show, giving them food coupons.
Why can't they do that for me? I'll take the money.
Yeah, but they were offering them in Brazil. I was showing the advertisers. They were hilarious. Like 30 reals. It's $5. They're like, if you haven't subscribed to Prime, go subscribe to Prime. I'm not telling you. That's what the advertisement. And then you watch Rings of Power and they give you a code for basically like.
Oh man, George, that's a great deal. I could take that, I could eat, and then I could have a 3-hour nap. Fantastic.
It's crazy the stuff that they're doing.
I only give people 6-minute naps, so.
you do that.
I like
But
your
you do it
stuff.
twice the time. That's the thing. Did you
So
say
I'm gonna
something,
be-
6?
I said they last for 10.5 minutes.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Culture's got the only 6-minute show that lasts for 12 minutes.
Yes.
Other than that, I have 2 more videos coming out this week. I'm going to continue the series, going through
Sweet.
movies from the past and now.
Are you hopping in with us tomorrow morning? I think Mikey said something about that.
Yeah, I might. I'm waiting to call him in
Okay.
a little bit. I'm switching something out. But other than
Sounds
that,
good.
I'll be on Base Staff Money tomorrow. I'm probably on Midnight's Edge.
Hey,
All right.
and George, say hi to Krigler for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to have him back on again. Take care, brother.
Alrighty.
Bye,
Love you
George.
all. Bye.
Hi, George.
Have a
See you,
good one.
George. Yeah.
All right, let's see what else you guys are talking about in the chat here. We got Colt Seaman in the house who says, with 1999, thank you. Good night, everyone. I watched Wakanda Forever last night. It changed my life. Not from the movie, but from how over the day I've met up with old friends that made me very happy. So happy. Marvel and Disney movies still shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Last Jedi all over again. Dearest sends in a super sticker. What was it, 6? Let's see here. I'm sure you shared it.
It was a pair giving a thumbs up, I believe.
Ooh,
Oh.
a pair of what?
Yeah, and where's the thumb?
Pair of boobies.
Oh, all right.
Oops, no,
Nice.
it wasn't.
Oh,
It wasn't. Well, we'll pretend it was. Walter Tomaszewski says, how much of a risk do studios take by casting certain actors, actresses in certain roles? Examples like Michael Keaton in Batman, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, etc. It's a calculated risk. It's a calculated risk. The first is an example of. See, here's the funny thing: is the 2 examples you give here are really great because they're 2 very different ways these men became the character roles. Michael Keaton was chosen by Tim Burton.
Yep.
The studio wasn't necessarily on board with that, but they let Burton pick that because that was that was his choice to go with him. And of course, yeah, Raimi picked Tobey Maguire as well, but the difference there was Tobey Maguire was one of God knows how many thousand people they looked at. Like there was a lot of kids who almost got that role.
Yep.
Wasn't it Gyllenhaal and quite a few others really
Jake
close?
Gyllenhaal auditioned.
Yeah.
James Franco auditioned.
Franco, yep.
The sole reason that Maguire got it is because Sam Raimi said that Maguire looked closest to him.
That's not surprising. And and that's the thing is Toby really was probably one of the best choices at that time for the role.
and he had a perfect voice for it too. I mean, you have to.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
Spider-Man has to have attitude in his voice because he's a snarky teenager.
Really?
Toby's
Is
a
there
great
any
actor,
other
but
kind?
he sounded like a wimp. He had
He
a very
did, yeah.
high-pitched voice, wimpy-ish.
This
Couldn't do
is
that gravitas thing.
something I got to agree with script on. I do love Tobey Maguire's Peter,
Yeah, it's Peter's
but I
great.
actually gravitate towards Tom Holland's Spider-Man and especially because of the Civil War banter. Like that's Spider-Man. Like when he's like, that old movie, and he's like, just throwing out shit and just pissing everybody off because he's just being a little smart ass. That's kind of Spider-Man. He's not quite being a jerk, but he's still a little dickhole.
Well, I actually liked Al Romano, who did one of the voice for Spider-Man in the Spider-Man Unlimited cartoon and some of the video games, because he captures the attitude of Spider-Man as Spider-Man.
The animated versions always seem to never kind of grab that either. They always kind of just turned him into proto Superman as Spider-Man. It always felt like in a lot of.
I disagree with everybody, so it's
I'll
fine.
back you up, Culture.
Okay.
I'll back you up on that one, Culture.
But I
I'm
do
with
love
you.
Toby. But I was going to say Tim Burton picked Michael Keaton for one main reason. And he said it was because you believe this guy is crazy enough that he would do this shit.
Yeah.
That was what it was. It's not so much that he's big enough. It's not so much
Wasn't-
of any of that
it
shit.
wasn't even his looks, right? Because he's not exactly, leading.
Well, it was
man.
partially his look, but it was the fact that Michael Keaton looked batshit fucking crazy, and
Yeah.
I emphasize the bat.
Well, and then, but you also have, consider that the Joker was even more over the top with Nicholson. I mean, it's like you put two crazy fuckers in the room together, and that's what gives you Batman '89. So,
well, yeah, and that's the thing is those two having to basically one up with each other all the time, constantly.
And I look, first
They're
of
only
all,
together in 2 scenes essentially.
But they didn't have to be. They didn't have to be. And so let's do this. If you don't believe in the Peter Parker, you can't believe in the Spider-Man. So
Spider Pig.
so if Tom Holland is a better Spider-Man and not Peter Parker, then he's not believable as the complete Spider-Man because it's the same person. So Toby is a better Spider-Man because you believe him as Peter Parker. Because you cannot have one without the other. And the other
I don't totally
becomes the other
disagree,
one.
but
right.
the script is right that Spider-Man is supposed to be a little quippy. Mega Wing Zeros.
No, I'm actually just commenting on the thing that Tobey Maguire has actually no control over, which is he doesn't have a very attitude masculine like voice.
Well, no, he didn't have a writer that put that in place either.
Well, I mean, have you seen Tobey Maguire try and do a baritone? It's kind of hysterical. It's bad.
And didn't he also play a jockey?
Yes, he
Which
did.
is not
Seabiscuit.
known really for
Seabiscuit, yeah.
a particularly masculine occupation.
Good
That
film.
was like-
Oh, dude, I know some jockeys would be very upset to hear what you do.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Yeah, well,
very,
they can
they're,
punch my knee.
they're very muscular. Yes,
He can
but
do
they
that
are-
gender check punch on you.
Oh.
They come in and be like,
I'm gonna fuck your shit up.
Exactly.
I have never known one jockey to talk like that, by the way.
Have you known a lot of jockeys?
I don't want to get into any
he
of it.
is one.
Okay.
Mega Wing Zero. He's shorter than you think.
Spends
He's
a lot
just
of time
lucky
on
the
the track.
culture. No, I know. I've
He's
seen
5'2",
pictures.
and that's okay.
That's why he loves Tom
I'm-
Cruise so
I'm-
much because he
I'm
looks up
tall-
to him.
I
Oh,
am taller than author Stephen Walton. I'm taller than Comics
he
Division.
missed that. Did you guys miss? No, come on. That was gold.
I'm taller than Sporkin News Podcast.
He actually has to look up to Tom Cruise because he's shorter than him. Jesus Christ.
Dude, Tom Cruise. Oh, I'm not even going to do that joke. I'm not going to do
Do
that.
it.
Nope.
How tall
You're the
is
same
Steven?
height, aren't you?
Tom Cruise, he's 5'4".
No, Tom. I know how tall Tom Cruise is. I'm wondering how tall is Stephen Walton?
Taller than Tom Cruise.
He's about 5'6".
Do you own any shoes with heels? Culture?
No.
All of them.
Well, actually,
He could-
I own some ropers, like some cowboy boots.
He's
He
got
could,
lips.
he could play a jockey though. Culture, you could be a jockey. You do like having a throbbing load of meat or flesh between your legs.
What now?
Never.
That got awkward real quick. Mega
Yeah.
Wing Zero says I was tired to go see Black Adam. Or he tried. I think he's gonna be trying to say go see Black Adam this weekend. All the theaters near me are sold out. I have a feeling it's going to overtake Black Panther. What do you think? No. But what is happening here is that all these theaters that they pulled Black Adam out of now are feeling the heat because there's probably a lot less theaters playing Black Adam than there are Black Panther. But Black Panther's showing to a lot of mostly empty theaters. It sounded like, but
It's weird,
that's
man.
how they're managing to make that money. Who knows?
I will say
I-
this: Black Adam is not going to catch up or surpass Black Panther.
No,
Oh,
no.
never.
No.
Warner Brothers is happy with what they got, but they are disappointed that they're not going to be actual competition against Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard basically about it so far was what we had said similarly, and that was that, yeah, it didn't quite bust the gates open like they were hoping it would, but it didn't have to because it did better than The Rock's biggest opening, and they're impressed with its staying power so far because it hasn't fallen off like most of these superhero
Tell
No,
us
it's
that.
actually probably going to flatline. It's probably going to hold that flatline for at least 3 more weeks, and then it'll probably drop significantly because again, it's losing its screens. I don't think it's going to get any more at this point.
No,
I
and
think
it's already
Warner
supposed to
Brothers
be
is
out
already
in-
worried about their next stuff right now. They're done with Black Adam.
Yeah,
But
they
you know
have
what else they're doing, guys? That's smart.
That's
Thanksgiving week. They're putting it on
Well-
video on demand.
Yeah.
I was going to say Thanksgiving. Is it going to have any legs till
Oh yeah, it's
Thanksgiving?
not. It's not going to be on HBO. It's on VOD, right? On the
Yep.
25th. Yep.
They're
Yeah,
doing
because-
a No Time to Die move. That's
Yeah,
going to
and-
help their bank.
It is. It is actually going to help them quite a bit. And it's, again, this is
Think about all
why-
the people who are going to be home, and this is the beauty of it. Think about it. I wonder how it's going to compare. How many people are going to be sitting home and going, you know what? We can sit here and watch Black Adam at home for $20.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or we can try and get everybody in the fucking van and spend $150 to go see Black Panther for 3 hours in the theater.
No, and I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to stick by what I said before. Word of mouth is going to kill the Black Panther Wakanda Forever film. It is not getting the robust love that they really had hoped for, and for good reason, because there's not a Black Panther in the film.
No, there isn't.
That's
I
a
just heard
problem.
from Nina and Jane Theory that the Wakandans try to fight the Atlantans with a boat. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever.
And a lot of them die because of that.
Oh Lord. Hillis Mallory says thoughts on the Ant-Man 3 trailer. I think I was the one who had the worst reaction to it. Everybody else seemed pretty. I don't want to speak.
I thought it was.
It was okay.
Yeah, for a trailer, I thought it was good. I mean, I liked its presentation. Outside of the complaints that the almighty Tom had about the slow paced,
No, I turned around and said, y'all are fucked in the head. We're getting the same shit we've gotten for the last 2 years here. 3 women are taking over for the main male character.
Takes 3 women to match 1 Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Technically,
That's
it's
what I'm
2
saying.
Ant-Man because Michael Douglas is in this also. So
Well, yeah, but he's
2 for 1.
barely there.
2 women for every 1 male.
2 girls for it.
Which, listen, that's an adult film. That's pretty good.
Sorry, Little Beach Boys.
Sorry, script. What'd you say?
Well, if this was an adult film, 2 women
you're
for
right,
1
Shannon
man is
Dean.
pretty good.
Jan and
right?
Dean.
I know I screwed up. Shut up.
Y'all let him talk. Jesus, motherfucking Christ.
We were doing a song thing. You
made me
We
take
were
the Lord's
singing.
name
We
in
were
vain.
singing.
Okay, script. I'm sorry.
Script, it's your turn.
Oh, no one heard? Okay, sorry. But like, if this were an adult film, 2 women to every 1 man is not bad.
This is true, but it's not.
The golden
it's a Disney
ratio.
picture. Douglas Nelson's here. Hey, how you doing?
What's up, Doug?
Zaslav is dealing with leftovers for the moment. Exactly.
Yeah.
The real test for him will be Superman. If he nails that, DC will dominate the superhero genre.
yes.
Here's the thing, though.
This
Don't
is-
expect Superman out the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's right. He's right. And thank you again for my birthday thumbnail, Doug. I appreciate it.
God, is
I
this
used
still your freaking birthday?
He has one. Are you like me and you have a
It's like
birth month?
week
Oh.
2.
The culture's birthday is as
You know,
long
the
as
other
as
day.
election season. I mean, it's like 3 weeks long.
He has 1 birthday for every year he's lived on this planet. It's all
I don't know why I came on.
Is that how your species works? That's interesting. No, this is the funny thing about this, Doug. I mean, we will get a Superman, but this is why I laugh off a lot of, and I don't get me wrong, I respect Mikey Sutton, but there's a lot of rumors and other people out there, not just him, but other people are flying rumors left and right about who's directing what, who's starring in this, and who's starring in that. And I sit here and I go, where are they getting this shit from? None of these meetings have taken place. Nobody knows what's going on, but maybe 3 people in the world right now. 3 people. And people like, I mean, Momoa did
Cavill's
kind
not
of
really one of them. I'll have to point that out.
Yeah, Cavill and him have not necessarily even talked yet. We know something's going on with Momoa. We don't know what, but we've had insinuations that has something to do with Lobo, which
Or
I
Dune.
mean, look, but yeah, well, no, he actually talked about it on an interview script where he did say it had something to do. His response was, and I'm paraphrasing as best I can without putting any words in his mouth. I'm very excited. I can't talk about it, but if anybody knows anything about me, all you have to do is a little research to find out who my favorite comic book character is.
Oh yeah, we already know that's Lobo. Yeah.
And the same day that phone call, see, here's the thing: is if James Gunn really wants to drive a nail into the Snyderverse being done, how else do you do that other than recasting one of the guys that's already Aquaman is another character altogether? Like, that would be an interesting way to go about doing this, right?
Who looks and sounds like the actual character he loves.
And not only that, what if that was James Gunn's secret project that he presented? Like, and then that's one way to really just kind of knock
Aquaman
this
versus
out.
Lobo. Only two same actors enter. One actor leaves as one character for the rest of the DCU.
Or they just kind of flat out say that after Aquaman 2 or whatever, that's it. Like, we're not
Well,
doing
and then James Gunn posted in what's the name of that Mastodon? He posted asking his followers, "Hey, what superhero characters do you guys like, and what do you want to see on the screen?"
And he did do a similar thing on Twitter too. So yeah, he's definitely listening to what everybody's saying. And I don't think too many things have been set in stone yet. And that's where I'm saying I'm taking everything with a grain of salt until I hear something or we have something that's official.
I want to see a proper Justice League. So what I need for that to happen is a series of films that introduces us to the major players in the Justice League.
Culture, I have a feeling, and this is just me speculating, that going off of what he has said already and the way things will go, because he said the first movie he works on out of the gate or produces for DC Films is not going to be a revival. So I have a feeling it's going to be a group movie, but it's not going to be anybody we necessarily have thought about yet. So it's going to be something where they can kick off something with it, and it's going to be a big deal.
Okay, so Hawkman, I mean, there's a lot of people in the Justice League.
Well, it's probably somebody we've never seen before. We got to remember.
There's Challengers of the Unknown, which he could probably do. He could probably do a Task Force X or a Checkmate movie, which is a spy type thriller.
Oh, yeah.
New Gods has been bantied about.
No,
New
fuck
Gods
New
has been
Gods.
bantied
They
about,
fucked that up already. Are they going to do it again?
They do, what, New Gods?
Yeah.
They haven't even touched on it, really.
Okay.
Because here's the other part, too.
Well, they were going to let Ava do her Renee, but
he only knows who Darkseid is. He doesn't know who the High Father is or any of those other characters. And if he tells you he does, he's lying. Because you can't... Orion, High Father, Scott Free, all those guys are very prevalent with regards to the New Gods. And anytime Darkseid does something, the New Gods get involved because Earth is supposed to be under the sort of protection of the New Gods to a degree. Darkseid's not supposed to be operating on Earth because that violates their treaty. So, there's that. Other characters that they could be doing.
I think Hamdinger's right. It's going to be Apache Chief.
You know, it would be funny if he could do Apache Chief. He could probably do Black Lightning.
He does like one thing.
It was being I was kidding.
He might just be focusing on his Peacemaker and Amanda Waller TV projects, and then just outlining the direction of the cinematic.
I think that's what's going to happen, and I don't think. I mean, I think he'll take on one or two movies in that 4-year period that we've talked about. But outside of that, I think you're right, Script. I think he's going to concentrate all of his actual physical creativity on those shows, and the producerial side of things. Yes, then he'll oversee like.
But he's got to be at the heart of the outline, gentlemen and lady.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. He's going to sit down and he's going to lay out he's going to go. He's going to probably put it together like who knows, somewhere from between 50 and 100 page outline going, here's your next 10 years of what's going to happen in the DC universe, at least
and this is what we're building to. So there's not a lot of, I mean, there are some really prominent DC crossover stories. Sadly, most of them involve Infinite Earths, so hopefully he's going to avoid that. But there are some other ones there, like there's the formation of the Justice League, which is a great story featuring the Appalachians.
Yeah.
There's Titans. He might do a Teen Titans film.
Maybe he'll do like a JSA time period piece or something. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, he could. He could do something like Dr. Midnight or
Well, I mean, you've got Black Adam in the universe now.
We'll have to wait and see. We won't know until at least next month or later yet. So it's going to be.
But a lot. I mean, I know a lot of those properties are well known in my comic aficionados, but the general public might not be that knowledgeable about them. Don't you think you would want to go for something that's going to be guaranteed hit property?
That's why I'm 100% about behind the idea of the formation of the Justice League. I think that
would get recognition.
Here's the thing, though: we're not going to get a revival. We've already had a Justice League.
So already, it's not going to be revived to something new yet. That's
Shazam. None of that shit. So it's going to be something we have not seen before, and probably characters we've not seen before.
But you haven't seen. You've not. Tell me you've actually seen the Justice League. Raise your hand if you actually saw the Justice League ever.
I get what you're saying, Culture. but Script is the only one who's going to raise his hand anyway. Point being is, I mean, we may. This is where I wonder if this whole idea of Script was just a beard for a moment in time.
That was cool. That was also cool.
I wonder if this is where I was saying is like once we hit the flashpoint and they can hit that reset button, it's like everything happened already, but we're starting anew kind of thing. And he may introduce like this crazy scenario where you got Lobo and who knows, maybe some other more cosmic characters.
He might do Icon, which is the Dwayne McDuffie stuff. There's Icon, there's Hardware, there's a whole bunch of characters from the Dakota side of the DC universe that he could use. Because here's the other part too. I think he might go the Guardians of the Galaxy type of route. Characters you're not 100% familiar with, but yeah, they might actually hit some resonance with audiences and be very, very big.
And I think that he's the guy who can do something like that. And it didn't necessarily hit with the Suicide Squad, but he found his footing with the Peacemaker, it sounds like. So
but that way he could backdoor walk in the Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We're getting a Justice League movie. He's already said that that's obviously something, or not him, but I know Zaslav has indicated that is obviously what he wants. Is
because Justice League can turn into one thing and then 1,000 other things. That's the
Here's
thing.
The other part too. He could do a Green Arrow movie.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, that would be so good.
But on that note, I know we've got Culture. You've got a stream coming up here in just a little bit.
Yeah.
There was one more topic I did want to kind of get to because we were talking about test screenings. So I want to ask everybody if they believe whether or not this Indiana Jones 5 test screening happened or not, because we now have a few different sources saying it did, including Doomcock. And we have people like Frank Marshall himself, Mr. Congo, Mango, denying that this ever happened. So let's go around the board. Culture, I'll start with you. Do you think that this test screening actually exists, or what do you think is going on?
I think that they had an internal test screening of people that are within the studio and it didn't go well, or people that are outside of the studio, or some people within Disney or people within the production. And none of them accepted it as, this was a great ending to the film or a good film to begin with. I think that it actually did happen. And I think there is a lot of parsing of language, is that a general audience didn't actually see this thing. That's what I think.
Interesting. 70s. Let's go with you. What do you think? I believe it didn't happen.
He doesn't think a lot with his Scottish
accent. He must have stepped
accent.
away. Did I miss something?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay. He didn't say anything in the back.
I think he had to poop.
Yeah, we had to poop. He's pooping.
He's in the chat, which is weird, but okay.
No, hang on. Sorry, I'm back. Sorry, I literally stretched out from the desk to reach something.
Did you wipe at least?
Yeah, well, absolutely. One square of paper only, though. You must be environmentally sound.
So, do you believe this test screening happened or not?
I do not have any real insight into this, but what Culture says sounds very plausible.
All right. Script?
Yeah.
Probably with family, friends, people of the production saw it.
Yeah.
6?
I mean, that doesn't count as a proper test screening, but I can see people conflating that.
I don't believe that the test screening happened because for some reason, I have a fondness for Frank Marshall. I'm not sure why.
Well, he speaks highly of you. He speaks
very highly of Antichrist.
Mango said it didn't have a proper test screening, right?
But is this because of his rampant cocaine habit?
Mangles or Marshalls?
Potato.
Congo. 6.
Somebody, I do believe someone has seen it.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're going to take the time to respond to something on Twitter, I don't know. I'm so gullible and naive and.
No, but you got a point because you were the one who brought it to my attention first, along with a few other people eventually. But Frank Marshall did comment on it, as did Mangold. But and you could be right, 6. You could very well be right, and there was no test screening, and this is all just Fugazi going around. But I am.
And will we ever know for sure?
I think so. And here's the reason why I say this is because I'm leaning more towards what Script, Culture, and so on are saying, and that is like, okay, we've been pointing out, making fun of it online, about the whole Kevin Smith thing about, yeah, it's all about He-Man, and it really wasn't. And going back to like J.J. Abrams going, oh, it's not Khan, and of course it was Khan. It was the Con.
Well, wait, don't forget Bond.
Well, there was a Bond business too.
Yeah.
But here's one that I think people have been overlooking, and I've been saving it for this specific show to talk about it. Let me take you back and remind you of what we went through with the rise of Palpatine. Remember that December when they said, no, there was no test screening. And even though we had a leak come out saying, oh, there was a test screening and this and this and this and this and this happened in the movie. And then we went to see the movie and this and this and this and this and this happened in the fucking movie. I think you guys are right. I think there was an internal test screening and they're playing with words. And much like that internal test screening of Star Wars, it did not go over well with friends and family.
I would turn this question around, Tom, and I would say if there hasn't been a test screening, why not?
Well, and
because
that's the thing.
Someone has to watch it at some point to do some kind of test screening.
And here's why I believe that there is some. And here's the thing: is I think they're twisting words like script and culture are saying. It's an internal screening. It's not technically a test screening. There probably wasn't any cards handed out. This is friends and family of the cast and crew and the cast and crew.
Which happens all the time.
Which happens all the time. And what happened was somebody within the company, or a few people within the company, saw this horrendous piece of shit, and they got the word out there that Doomcock or whoever else leaked it before was absolutely correct. This is what's happening. And we're starting to see other sources besides, like I said, Doomcock, because I think was it that paper out of the UK that said it, and some other places now are reporting on it too.
I think Small Time has talked about it. I mean, a lot of this small screen, right? Yeah, sorry, not Small Time, small screen. We've talked. It's brain. So this old, but no, I mean, it's not just those people. We've been hearing these same things since 2020 about things that were going to happen in the film, and all of them are being re-reported again and again and again. This is not the first time we've heard all of these things coming down to that bitch wearing the fucking hat at the end.
Well, and you know the whole thing about someone protesting too much, right? Like we've seen Mangold a couple times now come out in major defense of this film, and usually that's a bad sign for a movie. Because it's or a show, because like I said, that's where Kevin Smith and those guys come in, because that's when they start saying their bullshit, and then we turn around and realize that no, they're just fucking lying to us the whole time.
If they have to defend it already, you know there's something wrong with it.
Well, and again, I mean, I guarantee you that Mangold at the end of the day is going to end up looking like Kevin Smith, and no fan, no geek, none of us are ever going to trust this fucker again. Consider this. He went after Kadish, who is about as milquetoast a human. I'm just kidding, Matt. I'm kidding. No, but I'm just saying he's not exactly like, full of vitriol. He doesn't.
No, he's pretty laid back. He's very laid back.
Yeah. And as much as I like to give everybody over there at SNP a good ribbing, they approach things in a very measured way, and especially Kadish. And he got under the skin of Mangold more than once, which it takes a lot.
Which brings me back to my point: is if Doomcock and all these others were wrong, then why even comment on it? Why even say anything? It makes no sense. There's no reason to, because all you got to do is just sit there and wait and let them be proven wrong. And the only reason why I think that the screening happened is because a trailer's coming next month.
Yep.
It's going to be attached to Avatar. I guarantee it. And then we'll have some of our answers.
Yep.
We'll have a few answers to see, like, if some of those things line up with things we've heard. And
it'll be a teaser, not technically a trailer, but I hear.
Regardless, I think we'll get enough flavor to go, okay, we can kind of connect the dots here. We've seen that before, right? Where we've gotten these leaks early enough. Once we see a trailer, we're like, haha, yeah, we see exactly what those leaks were saying now.
Yeah, well, why does it have to be? It's going to be Harrison Ford's. You're not going to see Harrison Ford. You're just going to see a closet door open, and you're going to see the hat, the jack, and the whip, and you're just going to see a hand reach for it, and then it's going to say Indiana Jones and whatever the title is, coming soon, and that's all you'll get.
Why does it have to be a teaser, or excuse me? Why does it have to be a screening? Why couldn't it just be somebody who's familiar with the plot, who was on the crew, who saw what's going to happen and they just said, told somebody that it sucks.
This is a huge film. Lots of people have seen it now.
Well, Six brings up a good point, though, and the reason I think is because they do have these cast and crew screenings when a film is
all the time
getting to that point. So that's probably what happened.
And I look, ask Script. Lots of people have seen this now, multiple versions of it, because they have to work through it. There's a work for a reason, right? And they have to get from point A to point B. And I'm telling you, lots of people have seen this. There probably was more than one friends and family screening. There probably are 5 or 6 endings. Right now, Marvel shoots like multiple pieces of shit to like try to patchwork their quilt together. I'm not surprised that Lucasfilm is adapting to that same kind of mentality.
They don't just do it for that. They do it to also circumvent leaks and rumors. They don't want you to know what the ending is going to be, so they'll shoot fake endings.
That's true. And so if nobody likes any of the endings right now, this film's in big trouble. And again, this film, if any of these leaks prove to be true, it's dead. It's DOA. And I think part of what the reason of pitching this idea of a television program around Indy right now, around this time frame about this film, with all the stuff that's coming out now, I think there's obviously some back end there, because they think that when they kill this property off in film, they might have some additional room to work with it on.
Well, they kind of have to, because that's kind of the point, and that's why they're trying to revive Willow and stuff. Is because outside of Star Wars, all these other properties have not been.
Willow after the first episode is going to be deader than Grandpa's dick.
That's not what I'm talking about, Culture. What I'm talking about, though, is that's why they're trying to build up the longevity of these franchises, when most people should realize right off the front that there's nowhere to go with some of this shit, or they would have already.
Well, they're not franchises. That's the thing. Star Wars was the only real franchise. Indiana Jones is a very limited, deliberately limited series. Like, unless
you're going to James Bond it, yeah, you're right. Script. I don't see any longevity in the series, especially if you're going to put Fleabag in the role. Nobody's going to accept that. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what's going to happen, but what we know at this point is they are quick to change things. They will fucking lie to us. In fact, I'll bring up another example. Not that there's already not a good handful or two of examples we can come up with. Another great example around Lucasfilm and when they did Star Wars, the Rise of Palpatine again. We knew Matt Smith was in the fucking movie. Oh, we almost got to see Miss Culture.
I disagree that Indiana Jones.
Did we go far enough off the screen? You didn't see her?
No,
it was a hot piece of video there.
We have to now change the rating of this show.
That's right. The steam that was coming off the screen.
6, you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
I disagree that the movie is DOA. It still has the name Indiana Jones. It's still starring Harrison Ford. And there's going to be people who, I'm one of them, who saw this movie when they, the first Indiana Jones movie when they were a kid, and nostalgia is going to bring them into it. Mm-hmm. I've already told my mom about it, and she's looking forward to seeing it. Mm-hmm. So it's still going to pack the theater.
I'm not saying you're wrong, 6, but my point is, from what I'm saying is that Indiana Jones is this fucking franchise. You are not going to be able to go forward with Fleabag Jones or Mutt Lang Jones or whatever the fuck else you come up with. It is Indiana Jones. And at that point, either you do it in animation or you recast it, because there's no other route for this. To me, that's what I'm getting at is, and I agree with you, Indiana Jones is a huge franchise. Arguably, in some cases,
was the one who said it was DOA.
Well, maybe I don't know about this movie per se, but yeah, Culture, I don't know if you want to respond to that, but he's probably busy smooching. Yeah, he don't care.
I look, okay, geez, I hope
look how red he is.
I hope she was far enough off screen you didn't see any of that, but
we saw the whole thing.
Oh, we saw.
I didn't see. I was looking at something else.
Shameless display.
You guys are so mean. Look, my show starts in a couple of minutes. I got places to be.
Yes, we're gonna wrap this up so we can head on over to Culture Stream. But Valiant, who's back in the chat again, says, "Thanks for having me on." Of course, Valiant. You know you're always welcome.
Yeah. Valiant never comes to my shows. He doesn't invite me on his show. He shows up on this show. You know what? I quit. I'm out of here. I love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
He's a bit above us.
Oh,
Oh, he literally
really
just left.
He's got to
I thought he
go.
was
He's up. His time
He's got to
pressure.
prep this show. That's
Yeah,
Come back,
he's going to prep
Felicia.
his show. Alf says, "Okay, Cameron, the important question is, what about Victoria Alonso?" Well, I got a response from Cameron. He says, "Many people think that Alonso is safe, but I'm not so sure about that. I think she might get purged next year, along with the flying monkeys at Lucasfilm." That's your response, Alf. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that. And I was glad I was able to catch Cameron and ask him that. Mr. Tickle Trunk says, "CC Diana Canova was the young hottie on Soap."
Oh
And
yeah.
he just left. So we'll
Culture,
have to
we
tell
have
him
a
to head
super
over there.
chat for you.
Soap was hilarious.
Yeah. Darius Munchausen sends in a soup boss sticker. Let me guess. Is it a box of popcorn? It is. Thank you, Six, for letting me know that in the background. And thank you, Darius. Brett Cohen also sends in a super sticker. It is a video game controller posing triumphantly in between words, critical hit. Thank you for that, Brett. And thank you for watching. Mega Wing Zero says, I watched the last stream. The wedding was great. Thank you guys. So they should make an icon movie to be a DC Black Panther, and New Gods show can be great. Yeah, I have a feeling those are things they're probably are at least assessing or on the table. And we know that James is a fan of lesser known characters, and that will play to his strengths. But we know that I have a feeling he's going to find the right people, or at least attempt to find the right people to take on the big league hitters. So that's what I'm looking forward to here, because he's not somebody who's so egotistical that he can't see past his own narcissism in that respect, I don't think. So Phyllis Mallory says, "Oh, you mentioned Smurfs in space and water." Which is it?
Avatar.
Space water.
Space water.
Well, it's in space and water.
Oh, because the planet.
Well, we're all in space technically then.
And look at this.
is maybe culture should. Oh, Shazam.
I think you just say Shazam.
Yeah. What?
That's awesome. That's cool. Like saying "oh shit," but instead you're saying "oh Shazam."
Shazam, Shazam, Shazam.
Golly. All right, so head on over to Culture's chat. This stream will redirect you over there. I'm surprised,
And
we
it will
managed,
self-destruct.
and it will self-destruct in a matter of moments. I'm surprised we managed to pull this off in the right amount of time, and everything just kind of moved smoothly. I
You're
want to
a
thank
wizard,
everybody
Tom.
for hanging in here.
You're a
I'm
wizard.
a wizard, Harry.
It all just fell into place.
Six, you got anything to plug before we head out the door, other than heading over to Cultures?
You can come watch me be backstage on Midnight's Edge in the morning tomorrow at noonish Eastern
Yes.
over on the main channel.
Yes. Okay, and I'll be there too. Script Doctor, anything you got coming up you want to plug?
No.
Nah. All right. 70s. You
Unbridled
got something going on
enthusiasm.
tomorrow. I know that. You sent me a
Tomorrow,
thing
my
about it.
show, it's only Talk and Roll, 3 p.m. Mountain Time, and we're tackling fictional bands in movies and
I
TV.
want to be a part of this. I just hope I can find the time.
I hope you can too, because you would be just great on this one. I know.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 3 p.m.
Please book.
Mountain Time. No, Tom's always got time for me.
I'll try.
It's a lot of fun, and we talk about
time.
music. And I've got a top
Music.
10 of them, but there'll be the usual outside suggestions.
Can't
We'll
wait.
Just trying to
pencil you
decide. Sorry? Pencil me in. Ah, okay, right. Yes. Well,
No,
I appreciate
pencil
that.
Tom.
No, I appreciate you even
Pencil
thinking of
Tom
me.
in. Yeah, well,
Six,
pencil
you
me
can
in
join
for
as
you.
well, you know.
You talk to my people. My people are 6.
And I know Script Doctor probably is well aware of the majority of the bands we're going to be talking about.
Mecha J
Fictional.
says Mangold pulling a Kevin Smith isn't doing him any favors. If he had any faith in the movie, he should have kept quiet and let it speak for itself. Here's the thing, Mecha J. He already did the Kevin Smith with Matt Kadish. Now he's jumped the fucking shark, and he's doing a Rise of Skywalker. That's what I was trying to say. Is they're literally like they're out there lying to people, telling, oh no, there was no. We're gonna find out. I have a feeling we're gonna find out. This is one
someone
time
archived his tweet where he said Indiana Jones is always going to be Indiana Jones.
Until he's not.
I think 6 has it.
He'll be Indiana Jones.
Well, he's
right
not
up,
lying. He
right
will
up to the
be.
moment he dies, he will be Indiana Jones.
Fleabag is a different character altogether.
That's right.
Fleabag is a different character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not stupid.
It just doesn't fill me with any confidence. I wish
No,
they'd
it
just
doesn't.
left it at 3 and never even done that abortion of a 4th movie.
Well,
And
was
this
there
is
any
just going to be
point?
horrible.
Was there any point that any of you thought that this new Indiana Jones movie was going to be good? And now the
Never.
test screenings
No.
are making you think otherwise?
Well, no, not. I already knew of it. The moment I knew this movie was in trouble was the moment Mangold was on Twitter. And
this is what I'm
I heard
saying.
Fleabag is going to be in the movie because of what she did to Solo. And I thought Mangold was a great choice because I'll be honest with you, because of that movie, that last movie, I didn't think Spielberg's heart was in Crystal Skull, and that's why it suffered. Because if you watch the making of that, all the interviews and shit around it, it literally is Steven Spielberg going, George wanted to do this thing for the last 10 years. I kept telling him, no, it's fucking stupid. I finally gave in. Really, that's what it was. And George, all he said is he changed the fact that they're aliens to interdimensional beings. And I agree with Steven that it was dumb to bring aliens into the whole equation in the first place. And that's neither here nor there. I think he just didn't have the heart for it anymore. And I think we'd have been better off, in that sense, because Mangold just did Logan. He's a veteran. He's done tons of movies. These are the kind of movies that he normally should be able to handle. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, if he's just had this thing taken away from him and they woked it the fuck up, or he's just as much buying into the Kool-Aid. But he's clearly aggravated about something, because the moment things got shut down, he was out on Twitter, at people, and he's out there again right now, right after this shit. So to me, it's like if he was confident, he wouldn't be out there doing that. He would just let the film speak for itself.
But this is what I was saying. The minute they have to defend a movie, you know that something is badly wrong. There shouldn't be any defense when no one's even seen a minute of footage, and yet they're out there defending it.
Based on what you know now, at this moment, are you going to see it in the theater?
No.
I will. And I'll tell you one thing. There's one other person I've heard say some things about this movie that are completely against everything else we've heard. Supposedly they have said there's all these Indiana Jones moments we want and all this other stuff. But it still does not deny the things that we have said. So it still could be both things. It could be a great send-off for Indiana Jones, but at the same time it's setting up this Phoebe Waller-Bridge character for the future, and I think that's where the problem is.
Well, I don't necessarily have a problem with setting up the Phoebe Waller-Bridge character. It's if they use time travel to erase Indy and set her up so that she then does everything that we know he did. That's not good. We all know he's an old guy and he can die and hand over to her and say, in future, you can do all these great things. That's one thing. To erase him using time travel, that would be very different.
And that's the thing, is I wouldn't have believed in a million years they would have done that, but then we've seen the pictures, right? And then same kind of things happen in Crystal Skull already, so it's kind of like...
Yeah. Oh, there was no such thing as male Indiana Jones. It never happened. No.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong, 6, but I'm not going to be surprised if I'm not. That's where I'm at right now. I was thinking when Mangold took this over originally, I thought it was a good idea. Now I'm on the other side of that.
I think it's going to suck, but I'm still going to see it in the theater.
Right.
Because it's Indiana Jones, and that's something I've grown up with.
With that, it's 10:30, and I don't want to step on culture any more than I already have. So let's wrap this up.
Re-stomp that groin, Tom.
This sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
With that, we're going to bid you adieu and hop on over to Culture Stream. Take care, guys.
Cheerio.